Hello and welcome to Crystal Masters for February, everybody. We are heading to India this evening, and our focus this evening, as you know, are the mudras. And I'm so excited to bring this class to you. The whole month for me in India is just filled with magic. It's some of the most ancient magic. It's some of the most important magic. And so I hope you're ready. I hope you're excited too. And yes, welcome in. I see you, you see me. Tonight's our first class where we have the incredible assistance of Karen Brown in the house, who has come on board with us here at Sage Goddess to support us, because Alexis and I love what we do, but we do need a little bit more help. Making sure that you're having the best possible experience in our programs. And so I feel really blessed. We feel really blessed that Karen has joined us. And so please be sure to welcome her. A lot of you know Karen Brown. She's been with us in our programs for a long time. So we're really happy to tell you that she's with us.
It's been really sweet seeing all of your comments supporting Karen and congratulating her on this role in the Facebook groups. It's just been really nice to see, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
And she's doing great. She's getting her bearings, having fun. It's been really nice.
Working at Sage Goddess is like joining the circus. It's weird. It is harder than it looks. And nothing quite prepares you to do it. So cheers to Karen Brown for being brave.
Lauren Michelle, it is a social distortion shirt I'm wearing. Sorry, I didn't realize that there was just going to be like a skull. It's probably not the most crystal mastery shirt
I think it's totally crystal mastery. Are you kidding?
Thank you. Okay.
We've got a lot of social distortion fans. Are you kidding?
I love social distortion. It's
We're
one
here
of my
for
favorite
it.
bands. And he's like holding a little glass of like a little cocktail.
Check him out.
Yeah.
I want that. I want a pink drink.
Yeah.
Anyway. Look at us getting off on a tangent already. It's going to be an interesting evening. Yeah, I was going to say, you're probably right. Karen Brown's very long and distinguished tenure with the United States Postal Service has probably trained her well to be part of our circus.
Oh my gosh, imagine how much help she's going to be responding to comments about where's my package? She'll be like, well, actually.
I have nothing to do with that anymore. I know. Anyway, I hope you're ready and excited for tonight. Couple of things I want to tell you before we get started. We are going to talk tonight a lot about the elements. Okay, one of the reasons why this year's classes are so exciting to me is that they're incredibly diverse. You know, I'm somebody who gets bored easily, as you know. And so I love the idea that we are literally conquering the planet this year in Crystal Masters. Each month, we're really taking up residency in a different country to try to bring you that magic. Now, India is an incredibly diverse and an incredibly rich country with a lineage and a legacy that we will not be able to do justice to tonight. In order to keep things focused for you, I try to, direct our attention in certain places. That's why we're focusing on mudras and the elements tonight. So that, it won't be possible to cover every single aspect of the rich history of India and do it any justice. So that's why I've chosen to focus there. One of the things I want to remind you of is that this entire year in Soul Shift and Crystal Masters is really an effort to help you attune to subtle energy. And some of you are very experienced, and some of you are brand new to the world of crystal healing. So my job as your teacher is to, first of all, to make this class interesting for both new people to the world of crystal healing and also to very seasoned practitioners. The mudras is a topic that we've discussed before. I'm approaching it a little bit differently tonight. One of the questions that came up in preparation for tonight's class was actually in reference to a class I had taught you back in, I don't know if we know what year it was. 2020, actually. Actually, no, I think it was the last time I taught mudras, which was back in
So we've talked about them in 2020 and in
2021. So one of you had asked me, I can't remember who it was, hey, are we going to focus on the Ayurvedic application of the mudras, right, the correspondences, or are we, Athena had taught us another set of correspondences for the fingers. One of the things you have to know for tonight is that I'm focusing on I wouldn't call it Ayurvedic, I would call it Vedic, and I'll explain the difference in a minute. We're focusing on the uniquely Indian correspondences between your fingers and the elements. Part of what I love about the mudras, okay, is that it teaches you a way to work with your hands. You have these little mudra diamonds that we had carved for you. They're your tools for this month, and we're going to be working with them tonight. So you have your bloodstone, you have your peach aventurine, you have your sunstone, and you have your garnet. And we're pretty sure everybody who ordered tools has all of their mudra diamonds now. If you don't, you can let us know in the feed and we'll check on you. But in the house here at SG, we're pretty sure everybody's got their 4 mudra diamonds. And then you should have had your little mudra balm that we're going to be working with tonight. However, what I love about tonight's class is if you don't have the tools, you can just use your fingers. And I want you to learn how to do what we're doing tonight without these. Because at some point, okay, and I'm going to tell you this every month, okay, I love tools. I love having tools made for you. I love, and by the way, so Karen Brown will be noticing your comments, right? Because a lot of people are saying, Alexis, they don't have more than the original 2. So what Karen can do is check with Team SG. Claire's also standing by, I think, to check with Team SG on delivery of those.
They have all shipped.
Oh, they've all shipped.
Yes.
So if you don't have yours yet, it's an arrival situation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? If you haven't gotten your mudra diamonds yet, they are coming to you. They just may not have literally landed in your mailbox yet, but everything has shipped from SG, okay? But let me get back to my point. I want you to learn how to do what I'm teaching you tonight without them. Because at some point, and I'll tell you this every month for as long as you know me, at some point you're going to be somewhere wanting to do some type of healing, and you're not going to have any tools. Okay? And I would not be doing my job if I taught you crystal healing, okay? And for whatever reason, I suggested to you that unless you have a very specific type of tool, you can't do the thing. If you haven't had that experience yet, lucky you, right? But I travel a lot, and invariably I'm somewhere and I'm with somebody and they say, I'm so out of alignment. I really need to work on my energy. What do you recommend? And I want you to have immediately 5, 10, 15 little tips and tricks and things you can do with no tools. And I do believe that your hands are your most important magical tools. And so what I'm going to teach you tonight, it does sound kind of wrong, Sylvie, but it's true. What I'm going to teach you tonight is that your hands are magical tools. And every single one of your fingers, all 5 on each hand, correspond to one of the 5 elements. And so tonight I want to teach you not just what your hands are for or how to use your hands as healing tools, but why. Why, right? Where did this all come from? So sometimes you're going to have tools, and that's great. Do I think it's more powerful to do the mudra work with crystals in your hands? I do. And I bet you do too, because you wouldn't have signed up for a crystal healing class if you didn't think crystals mattered, right? I mean, you would have signed up for some other kind of class, right? This isn't just an energy work program. This is a crystal healing program. At some point, you got to work with crystals, right? So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't have some kind of crystals in your hands tonight. But the point is, if you're somewhere and you don't have tools, I want you to be trained for that too. So the shape of these is a little different than just a double terminated tool, and we're going to talk about that tonight. I would love for you to experiment. If you don't have a mudra diamond, try a couple things in your collection. Try a double term, try a single term, play, right? When I created this class for you, and by the way, any questions you have that I'm not responding to will be handled by Team SG. Alexis is here, Claire's standing by, and Karen is here. So if I don't respond to your questions in the feed, it's probably because they're taking care of it. My goal as your teacher is to focus on the camera and on the content. So if you see me not responding to like, hey, where's my package stuff, that's what Team SG is there to support and help with, okay? Okay, so I want you to play. This class is supposed to be fun, okay? This class is supposed to inspire you to look around your crystal collection and go, I wonder if I could do this with this. I wonder if I could do that with that. Okay, this class is designed to teach you some interesting things and then for you to go back to your crystal collection and go, I'm going to play. I'm going to go grab a bunch of my different tools. I'm going to try it with a tumble. I'm going to try it with a generator. I'm going to try it with a double term. I'm going to try it with a sphere. I'm going to try it, you know, indoors. I'm going to try it outdoors. I'm going to use my pendulum, right? Like I'm going to try all these different things. So my goal tonight is to inspire you and then to get you to go back to your collection and talk to your collection and see, because I bet you have tools in your drawer or shelf or wherever you are that actually would be really lovely as support mechanisms, as allies for the work that we're doing tonight. And I want you to play, okay? So have fun. I hope that you're going to enjoy what I share with you this evening. And then take that time to look around and see what you might want to work with that can shift the paradigm for you. Okay? And so try it all, right? I mean, Jackie's asking, can I try this? Can I try that? Like, just try it. Because here's the thing. A lot of what I've learned over the years, I've learned by practicing and playing. And just kind of poking around and like, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? You know, a lot of teachers will say, if you don't have this exact thing, then you can't do that. Especially in shamanism. In shamanism, there isn't a lot of like experimentation. Because a lot of the teachers are very strict and they have a very specific tool or plant teacher or whatever in mind. And if you're not working with that, then you can't do the thing. But I'm kind of a rule breaker, right? I say that because the more you experiment, the more you're going to personalize your practice. As a crystal healer, right? When I go to a healer, I look for somebody who's unique, who's doing things their own way, who says to me, you know, I learned this, I learned that, I practiced this tradition, I practiced that tradition, but ultimately what I really did was trust my own intuition, and this is what I've come up with. Those are the people I tend to trust most with my healing, right? And yeah, so and it is a full moon. If you haven't done full moon ceremony with me, if you're new to Sage Goddess, tomorrow night is the full moon in Leo. We'll be live on YouTube at 6 p.m. And then Thursday, we have a very special exclusive live Tucson edition of our gem sale just for members of our programs. And so you're going to see me tonight for class, tomorrow for full moon, hopefully, and live crystal readings in Crystal Masters Facebook group tomorrow as well. Alexis and Karen will provide you all the details of that. It's already in your classroom too. And then Thursday is our exclusive sale. Yes. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. I'm thrilled. I am so excited. So we're going to talk about all the things tonight. I do have a giveaway, and I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to post it in your Crystal Masters Facebook group after class tonight. So Shram came to LA from Tucson with us, and he just went back to India 3 days ago. It was hard. It was very emotional. I cried when he left. I was really sad because I won't see him again until I take the kids to India in October. So anyway, I get to see him again this year in India, but he won't be here until next year after Tucson. So anyway, it was hard. But before he left, he gave this to me. And I asked him if it was okay to give it to you as a giveaway. This is a sandalwood mala with the prettiest little, like, isn't that sweet? Little peacock colory kind of little tassel.
Mm-hmm. Those are like my favorite. I love those colors together. So cute.
You know who was obsessed with this today was Bodhi, my dog. He kept coming up and smelling it.
Sorry, I just want to answer a question real fast because it's just easier to do it out loud.
Yeah.
Lindsay Seidel. So I understand the confusion. Last month before class, Athena had sent some materials to us that she was going to use, and so we posted them in the online classroom ahead of time. She hasn't sent us any materials to post in the online classroom, so there haven't been any additional postings. I hope that makes sense. So we did it last month. We haven't posted anything yet, but when we do post something, it will be in the online classroom. So anything that she uses tonight that you don't already have will be posted later. So we will post book recommendations and everything. So I just wanted to clear up the confusion. If there's nothing there, it's because we don't have it yet.
Yeah, so sometimes I send her stuff ahead of class. This month I didn't because things in my world have been really crazy since I got back from Tucson. So, but I have 3 books that I'm working with tonight. We will list those books for you. This one is out of print, so this may not be one that you're able to find, but the other 2 books are in print. They're not the only books I recommend on India, but they're the ones I'm going to be referring to tonight. So you'll have all those book recommendations. Any pictures I show you, we will take pictures of those pictures and post them in your classroom. So if you're new, it sounds like we've got a couple of new students here, and so let me just kind of remind you, our job is to make your learning simple, okay? So you don't have to take notes, we're taking notes for you, and we will post those notes after class. You don't have to look for the books I'm sharing, we will list those for you. You don't have to look for the pictures I'm going to show you or take screenshots, we're going to post those pictures for you. Your job tonight is sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let me take you on this little journey this evening of some of what I love about India, which will continue next week in Soul Shift with session 3 and session 4. And just enjoy the process. And anything I show you tonight that isn't already in your hands will make it to you in the next week or so. Team SG will post all of it for you.
Exactly. So if it's not already posted in the classroom, it will be posted in your notes. And we're currently working on getting notes posted within a week of class.
Yeah.
So it does take time. These classes are long and very thorough.
Yeah.
But that's the current plan.
Most of the books I share with you will not have an Audible version. One of them is a picture book and another one is out of print. You might be able to find one of them in an Audible version, but when I'm choosing books to share with you, I don't do Audible books, me personally, because I like to read. So I don't ever actually listen to books. I know that might blow your mind. But I'm old school. I was a professor for 100 years before Sage Goddess, and I'm somebody who likes to read and underline and dog-ear my pages and highlight and all those things. So you might be able to find some things I share with you on Audible. 99% of what I share with you probably isn't, because I don't do Audible books. Okay? Yeah, so we are talking about India tonight. I'm going to dive back in and focus on the camera. Again, any questions you have, continue to ask in the feed. That's what Karen and Alexis are here for, is to support you and answer those questions while I focus on your teaching. Okay. I will say, too, I do my best in our classes to be linear, like A to B to C to D, so you can follow me. But we're talking about a lot of really complex material. So that's why we take notes for you and try to organize everything for you, because sometimes my teaching will take you in and out and up and down and around, because we're covering entire countries and continents. So I do my best to keep it very linear and organized, and certainly the notes will be very linear and organized too, but sometimes I bounce around because the content is expansive, and I do my best to be as linear as I can.
I think a great way to put it is that you take us on a linear path,
Yep.
but it's not a straight path, it's a winding path.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good way of saying that too. We're going to wind a little bit tonight. Are you ready to wind with me?
And we're going to fall, and we're going to climb.
We're going to fall, we're going to climb. Okay, so what I was mentioning earlier, and one of the students had mentioned it as well, in the past I've talked to you about the elemental correspondences of palmistry, what the fingers represent compared to the mudras. Tonight we're only focusing on the mudras and not on palmistry. We're not focusing on the pagan correspondences. And part of that is because they're different. I didn't want to confuse anybody, and our focus this year is on India. So we're going to be focusing only on the mudras and those correspondences. Okay. Yeah, I have chai tea. I had a procedure done yesterday, a scope in my throat because I'd had a really persistent sore throat that was really bad for a long time, and I needed to make sure I was okay. And the good news is I'm totally fine, but I was in a lot of discomfort yesterday, and my voice is still kind of raspy today, so you're going to see me drinking a lot as we go, just because I need to be able to continue to talk for 3 hours. I was very quiet for most of today to rest my voice ahead of this evening's class. But if I sound raspy or hard to understand, just bear with me. I didn't want to cancel class, but I had quite a go of it yesterday. No, I have, I don't have strep. I have, what's it called? The thing everybody has, acid reflux.
Oh, and that's called, oh yeah, I have trouble with acid.
I have acid reflux. So there's nothing wrong with me, but I wanted to make sure I was okay. I have acid reflux. So, but I did end up having an endoscopy yesterday, and it was horrible. And anyway, I'm here and I'm happy, but I couldn't talk yesterday, and I'm having a little bit of trouble today. But I'm doing my best, and the good news is it's nothing more serious, which is why I was concerned. Yeah. So thank you. Anyway, now that you know everything about my health and also kind of where we're going for today.
Jenny Ruder said, how can you drink that much and not pee your pants? What stone is it that I need?
For urinary control, I don't know. I'm going through menopause. I don't have good urinary control. I don't have any answers for you for that. But anyway, my doctor yesterday was like, everybody has acid reflux at your age. And I was like, can I just say, like, turning 50 is not, like, the most fun thing ever? Like, really? Everybody has it? Okay. Anyway, lots of love. Okay, so let's dive right in. Session 2 is on the market. No, actually, she said ACV does not cause it. So, anyway, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Okay, let me go back to the beginning, darling. Okay, are you ready? I think I'm going to start by reading to you. I have a couple different things I want to read to you. I know. Now I'm on a new diet and everything after yesterday. I have a few things I want to read to you because it sets the stage. It sets the stage. Yeah. You ready? If you want to close your eyes and just kind of, and I will tell you, especially if you're new, the feed is a wonderful thing. It can also distract you. Okay, so if you're really here just to learn, you don't need to do the feed, right? You don't have to chat and interact all the time. Like, this is your class, it's your time. So if you're like, you know, I kind of find the chat distracting, move over here. The second half of class is all Q&A. So I will focus more on your questions, and you may want to jump back into the feed at that point, but you might want to consider taking the first half of class to really just be in student mode and be selfish and just really take in what I'm sharing with you for your own purposes. If I was a student in class, that's what I would do. So I want to encourage you to take this experience however you need to for your own learning style. It's very important, okay? So this is from a book called The Secret of the Bhagavad Gita, right, which is one of the most important spiritual texts in the Hindu pantheon. I'm reading to you from page 63 in that book. It's a great book, by the way. It's kind of general, but it's beautiful. And one of the teachings in here that I found most useful is about how to effortlessly increase the vibration of your mind. This just gives you a little perspective on the Hindu approach to mysticism and spirituality, okay? So it says, there are 5 points when it comes to raising your vibration. And our whole focus tonight, by the way, is on raising your vibration. We're gonna talk about how to raise your vibration through the elements tonight, by activating those elements in your field. If you have an energetic blockage, we talk about the chakras all the time, right? And I do believe that your chakras are very important for understanding how energy moves through your body. But your chakras are connected to the elements, right? You are composed of the elements, and we learned that from India. That's why I'm taking you all the way back. But I thought I would start here because there's nothing more important actually than raising your vibration. When you raise your vibration, you create alignment, you create physical healing, mental healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing, right? And in fact, I think the experience of being human is to learn how to raise your vibration and still be human, right? Because as humans, we have a low vibration. That's why you can't see spirits, right? We're very dense, we're very thick energetically. Our energy moves very slowly. We don't move as slowly as first and second dimensional creatures and creations like the rocks and the plants. They vibrate even more slowly than we do, but we don't vibrate as quickly as the ones who are in the spirit world, which is why we can't see them. We can only see things that are at the same density as we are or slower and lower. Okay, so see if these principles help you. And like I said, if you want to really take in what I'm saying, close your eyes for a couple minutes and just listen to the words. Here's the first principle of how to raise your vibration. I'm as good as my vibration of my mind. The higher the vibration, the finer my awareness will be. With a lower vibration, I will have a more confused awareness. Just listen to the words. Okay. The second principle. I'm convinced that all confusion, doubt, and difference arises from the low vibration of the mind, and all clarity, abundance, love, peace, compassion arise from a higher vibration of the mind. I will strive to remember this during my daily life. Number 3. The area of my life which has a low vibration is the one that suffers. Interesting, right? If my vibration relating to abundance is low, then that area suffers. If my vibration relating to my relationship is low, then that area suffers. If my vibration relating to health is low, then that area suffers. I will pick one area of my life today where the vibration is low, and I will make it right. Okay? The secret, here's number 4. The secret of raising the rate of vibration is to identify and relate to an object in nature with a higher level of vibration. This is why we do elemental work. Okay? This object could be a wise soul, a strong animal, a mountain, a work of art, a flower, or any other divine aspect of nature. If scarcity is tormenting me, I will fix my mind on the gigantic ocean and feel its abundance. I will watch how river water is continuously pouring into the ocean and getting discharged the next moment. I will observe how the ocean creates a series of waves in one sequence and destroys it in the next moment. I will meditate on the heart of the ocean, which is always full and stable and at peace with itself. The ocean never chases water. Let me say that to you again. The ocean never chases water. It owns the water, and it's always full, no matter how much it gives. I will train my mind to focus on the serenity of the ocean and to inherit all of its abundant qualities. Number 5, if I suffer from health issues, I will concentrate on the strength of an elephant or the image of a strong god. If I feel the urge for elegance, I will enter into the consciousness of the lion. If I crave a cheerful nature, I will fix my mind on the splendor of a rose or the abundant leaves of the sunflower. If I'm having trouble with purity, I'll attempt to merge with the consciousness of Buddha or the Christ. I have endless choices. I'll remember that I'm not trying to become anything. I'm simply taking the help of nature to correct that part of my personality which today is at a lower rate of vibration. Let me say that again. I'm not trying to become anything. I'm simply taking the help of nature to correct that part of my personality, which is at a lower rate of vibration. Now, arrange your daily schedule to get up every morning before others in your house. Is that easy for you? In my house, that's hard because Dave, I swear to you, is up at 5 in the morning. That man loves to get himself up in the morning, like a good little double Virgo. I would sleep until 10, I think. 10's a nice time to wake up, isn't it? I'm joking because I never get to sleep in until 10, right? The kids leave the house by 7:30. I'm up to make sure I get to say goodbye to them. Dave's up at 5 on the weekends, which is ridiculous. So I'm up by 7 on the weekends. But I'm just saying mentally, like in Athena Town, Athenaville, Athena Universe, a nice 10 a.m. would really be lovely for me. I just married kind of the wrong person, right? No, and if your husband drives a school bus, which, you know, in my house, Dave drives our school bus, right? He takes the kids to school in the morning. I'm not going to drive at 7:30 in the morning. Like, I know that probably sounds like a diva thing of me, but I'm like, you know what? You can drive them, you little happy morning person. He's a double Virgo. He's Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising. Pisces Moon. Arrange your daily schedule to get up every morning before others in your house. It should say, unless you're married to a double Virgo. Take pleasure in the warmth of your being. Don't seek anything. Everything is going to be yours very soon. Let me say that again. Don't seek anything. Everything is going to be yours very soon. Could you live your life that way, not looking for anything, just knowing that whatever you're meant to have is already on its way to you? Now close your eyes and imagine your mind seated firmly in the center of your heart. If your mind wanders, take the help of your finger and place it at the center of your heart, and you'll notice that your mind will follow your finger to the heart space. Enjoy the whole process, but don't make it hard. This isn't an examination, and there's nothing you can fail. You simply have to get it right. Now comes the interesting part. After you fix your mind in the center of your heart and allow it to remain in that position for 5 minutes, and then the meditation continues, right? So it says, close your eyes, imagine that your consciousness is leaving you through your heart center and moving toward that object of nature which you've identified. Let's take the ocean. So basically you're allowing your consciousness to enter into the consciousness of the ocean. Imagine that your consciousness has now entered the ocean. Feel the personality of the ocean. Dance with the waves. Watch how full and stable the ocean is. Watch as water is continually pouring in and getting discharged. The ocean is always abundant. Learn from her. Enjoy the whole experience. Okay. I wanted to start with you there because there's so much we can talk about when it comes to India, and certainly the Gita, which you can think of it as the Hindu Bible, right, is a really good guide for how to relate to the elements, how to embody the elements, but more generally, what the elements represent. What I love about Hindu cosmology, and the reason that we're studying India this year, in addition to the fact that so many of our crystals come from India, right? The zeolite family of crystals, uniquely from India. Sunstone and iolite combinations, uniquely from India. Bloodstone, from India. Zezchilite, from India, right? I mean, like, the list goes on and on and on and on. Tourmalines in India, peridot in India, rubies and sapphires. Almost exclusively the world's supply now of rubies and sapphires comes from India, right? And so this is very important for us to acknowledge that in India, there's no awareness in the cosmology of lack, right? A lot of traditions talk about lack, not having enough, or, sort of a mindset that you have to, there's something missing in you and you've got to go find it. In the Hindu traditions and across the country, there's this idea that you already have everything you need, right? And so all you have to do is adjust your frequency. And what's fascinating for me as somebody who studies world traditions is you can see the Hermetic principles in here, can't you? That everything begins with your mind, right? Your mind set. So if you start your day saying, today I'm going to be like the ocean. I don't lack anything. In fact, I'm already full. and everything that I want is already on its way to me. I don't have to go and chase anything. That sets you up for success. That reminds you that there's nothing outside of you to seek or to achieve. Everything's already happening, and you just have to become aware of it, right? Okay, now I want to take you from that place into a discussion of how spirituality and mysticism developed in India. So this is going to be a little bit more, like I said, this is the intellectual part of our class, but it's the groundwork for the rest of the work that we're going to do tonight. So if you talk to people from India about their rishis or rishis, you're going to hear so many different stories. And every Indian person I've ever met, including Shram, because I talked to him about this last weekend when he was here and we were at dinner, and the stories just kind of like take you on all of these different journeys. I want to be kind of linear and simplified with you, because for a lot of you, this is your first introduction to India, and certainly you can go down the rabbit holes and explore all of this on your own if you could become passionate about it. But from my perspective, the most important thing for you to know tonight, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to own this book, because it's one of the only books ever written about the rishis, and it's written by an Indian person who did a lot of research, and most of the book is in the original Sanskrit. And there's no translation. So it's an expensive book. I wouldn't recommend going and buying it, because I'm gonna give you, I think, one of the most important parts of it. There are other books like the one on the Bhagavad Gita that I think are beautiful and maybe worth having in your library. And so the story of the rishis is interesting because the original Hindu spiritual text called the Vedas. And there's different Vedas. Primarily what you hear about when you learn about Indian mysticism are the Upanishads. And those are the sections of the Vedas from which we get our study of yoga, our study of Ayurveda, our study of the chakra system. All of that comes out of these texts. And the story of how the Vedas were discovered is fascinating. There were 7 rishis. And these 7 spirits, I'm going to read you a little bit here too. And people use different words. They downloaded the Vedas, okay? The Vedas are older than the Bible. The Vedas are older than any spiritual text on the planet. So again, everything we know about Ayurveda, everything we know about chakras, everything we know about yoga comes from these original texts. Now, what I think confuses people is we don't have scientific proof of how these were channeled. They were just channeled by these 7 rishis, these 7 learned beings, okay? And if you want my honest perspective, when I look around at all of the original civilizations on this planet, we can't fully understand them, right? How were the pyramids built, right? Where did the Vedas come from? Who delivered that material to these seers? Do you know how they say the rishis downloaded the Vedas? It's a fascinating story. By meditating on Om. By meditating on the symbol and the sound, Om. That's one of the reasons why I'm wearing a necklace tonight that I don't wear very often, because I prefer to wear my Soul Shift graduation pendants, and they kind of lay at the same place. But Dave bought that for me a few years ago, and that's the Om symbol. We went into a jewelry store, we were on vacation, and I saw it before he did, but I didn't say anything. And he came to me and he's like, "Did you see they have a diamond Om over in the jewelry case?" And I said, "I did see it. I wasn't going to say anything." And he bought it for me. But that symbol right there, that Om symbol that we all know so well, right, is actually the sound of the name of God, right? It is the most sacred symbol in so many ways. And so by meditating on the symbol itself and on the sound of the symbol is how the rishis downloaded the Vedas. Now, the Vedas are expansive. Okay, I mean, I've meditated on Om before. I didn't download the Vedas. Okay, now granted, I'm not a rishi, right? I'm not that special. I'm not otherworldly, right? But that is the narrative. So what I love about that is, if you're going to go with me on this journey into Hindu mysticism, you have to be open to things being a mystery, right? If I send you home tonight to do some homework and to meditate on the Om symbol, I don't expect that tomorrow you're going to have 5,000 pages of Sanskrit ready for me as a prophet. But that is the story of how it happened. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about the rishis from this book. The word rishi or risi means a man to whom Vedic hymns have been revealed, an author, a priestly singer of those hymns, a saint or a sage of ancient India. They formed a class apart from other religious functionaries due to their distinct way of life. That life was based on Veda mantras, also known as Vedic hymns, their revelation, their composition, their editing, their recitation, and also their instruction, learning what the hymns were meant to teach. The rishis had a separate entity on the basis of a distinct hermitage system, a virtuous family life, and they had all these jobs that they had to do. Okay, the line of the rishis seems to be a perennially flowing stream, enriching the mind and imagination of the common people, and so they've been rightly evaluated in India as supreme. There's a couple pages I marked. Now, the rishis were the rise of the rishis actually created what's known as the caste system in India. And I'm sure you realize this today. There are many, many castes in India. The north has certain castes, the south has certain castes. And this caste system is sort of a way that people understand who they are, how they relate to others, which families can marry other families. Some families see themselves as direct descendants of the rishis, okay? And so they have this kind of deep spiritual lineage, right? Some characteristics, the rishis are also known as Brahmana, because remember, Brahman is the, source creator energy, right? And it's believed that the rishis were channeling Brahman energy. So the Brahmanas were in an exalted position. The four classes of society which developed into the caste system that we know today were identified as the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaisya, and the Sudra, according to their social dignity. If you were to become a Brahmana, a rishi, you had to be born from Brahmana parents, and you had to be well versed in the scriptures, and then you had to be engaged in what they called pious works. Okay, so these are people, you might want to think of them as kind of like clergy, right? Like, it's sort of a priestly category of people. And even if you, right, the highest caste, and so even if you descend from that caste, and this is what Shram was saying to me, the descendants of the rishi still carry this sort of higher lineage. It's very true. And so you can see the effects of this caste system today, knowing that it really came from that. Now, there's a part in this book, I won't take you too far into this, but there is a section called Women as Rishis, okay? Women sages were called Rishikas, and Brahmavadinis. The Rig Veda mentions Rishikas in certain passages. Now, they weren't as common. Most of the rishis were male, but I'm very interested in who was a female rishi and what their responsibilities were. Now, the section on the female rishis in this book is literally that long, and it's a big book. So, rishi is spelled R-I-S-I. Okay, but it's pronounced, you'll hear people say Risi and Rishi, but it's R-I-S-I. And the female rishis are Rishikas, R-I-S-I-K-A-S, which you could also say Risika. Okay, Rishika or Risika. Okay, so those are the words you're going to want to look up. So that's what I wanted to share with you from that particular book. Now, the Upanishads, one of the most interesting, and again, that's one of the Vedas, right? It's one of the hymns, it's one of the ancient texts. The Upanishads, in terms of their guidance for how to become a spiritual person, do you know what the advice is in that particular hymn or that particular poem. The translation from Sanskrit is begin by asking questions. If you want to become a spiritual person, begin by asking questions. Isn't that beautiful? That a spiritual book starts by telling you to ask questions. The Christian Bible doesn't start that way. The Quran doesn't start that way. And yet this particular spiritual book actually starts by telling you to question. And that's part of what has attracted me, I think, over all of these years to Indian and to Hindu spirituality. One of the things that turned me off from Christianity, even though I still at my core consider myself Christian, is that it's all telling you what to do and what not to do and giving you, and the same thing goes for most of the major spiritual traditions, right? Here's what you do, here's what you shouldn't do, here's the rules, follow the rules. If you follow the rules, you'll go somewhere good when you die. If you don't follow the rules, you'll go somewhere not so good when you die, right? I love that in this tradition, that's the invitation, is to begin by asking questions. And what it recommends in the Upanishads is to investigate the nature of the self in order to come to awareness and wisdom. Now, if you're in Soul Shift, and I left the house today in kind of a rush, I forgot to bring my garnet necklace, and I'm super bummed because I've been wearing it. Do you?
Yeah, I have. Oh, wait, there's one right here.
Okay. So I'm just going to remind you, if you have it, I hope you're wearing it. I've been wearing it all the time. I've already had like 3 or 4 people ask me where they can get one. I'm like, you can't get one. I don't know anymore. But this, doesn't that remind you of the inscription on the outside of the oracle at Delphi, to know thyself, right? Doesn't it remind you of that? Begin by investigating the nature of the self, also known as the Atman. Okay, so the Atman in Hindu mysticism is the soul. That's the part of you that's eternal, that's connected to the creator, right? In the Upanishads, they say that the soul is a mirror of the all. So everything that you are, that you want, that you need, that you desire, is actually a reflection of what is available in the universe to you. So there's nothing that you want that isn't available to you already. Interesting, right? Okay. Now here's what I love most. Where am I going? Oh, the Upanishads. Up, up means by, okay? And nishad means sit down. The Upanishad, literally the word from Sanskrit, translates to sit close to your teacher. Isn't that amazing? I was telling this to the kids this morning as we were having breakfast, and I said, I'm teaching my students about one of the oldest, if not the oldest, spiritual text on the planet. And the name of that text, the translation of it, is Sit Closer to Your Teacher. And I said, don't you do that when you're in a class and you want the teacher to know that you're really paying attention and you're excited about the content? Like, you sit closer to the front of the class, don't you? Or if you're trying to hide and not get noticed, then you kind of sit toward the back of the class. But I was a teacher forever, a classroom teacher. And I always knew my A students, 99% of the time, were sitting in the front row. And my students who weren't going to pass the class were usually sitting in the back. There's actually data to support that that's true. Sit close to your teacher. The oldest spiritual on the text on the planet. The title of it means come closer to wisdom, right? And then the first lines of the Upanishads tell you that if you want to understand spirituality more generally, you need to first figure out who you are. Isn't that beautiful? Sit closer to your teacher, darling. Okay. Now there is, when you kind of poke around and ask people, there is general agreement that the rishis were, if they were human, they were superhuman, okay? They had some way of dialoguing with spirits that are not human, and that was universally acknowledged. Part of what, candidly, between you and me, part of what makes me sad about living in this particular time of our history is I don't think there's an openness to the idea that humans can't access all wisdom on our own. I think that's why psychedelics are illegal, right? I think that's why, I have long theories about this, right? Do I consider myself, or do I see myself as wise? I do, but in a very Western way, right? Like, I'm named after the Greek goddess of wisdom. That was an intentional choice on my parents' part, right? And I have a PhD, and I'm a university professor, and I'm a published author, and all of these things. So by Western definitions, most people would say I'm wise, right? Like, I kind of check the boxes for that. But for me, the greatest wisdom that I have accumulated has not come from college classes. I haven't learned the greatest wisdom in my life from other professors, right? I've learned the greatest wisdom in my life from seers and mystics and people who've gone on vision quests for weeks and months at a time out in the middle of nowhere and talked to God and, been visited by aliens and all of these things, right? The deepest wisdom I have gained has not been from other wise people, right? Or from people who are considered wise. The greatest wisdom I have gained in my life is from people that you probably, or some of you might just pass on by and go, well, that person's weird, you know what I mean? But you sit and listen to them, and you connect with them, and they're plugged into some other source of wisdom that really isn't from here, right? So in any case, I think one of the reasons why I love being human, and I'm happy to be here on this planet, and I'm sure I chose this particular timeline and contract, but I do wish I was alive at a time in this planet's history, and maybe I was, where we were more open to the idea that wisdom comes from other worlds, other dimensions, and that we have to somehow move between those dimensions to be able to access that wisdom. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, so Cynthia's asking about her amulet. Yeah, and so we talked a little bit about this last week, and I'll talk more about it during session 3, but it translates from the ancient Greek as know thyself, and it's actually the exact inscription, Cynthia, that's on the outside of the oracle at Delphi. It's the only written record we have from the oracle, because most of those ruins are destroyed. It's the only proof we have of a written communication between the seekers who came to the oracle at Delphi and the oracle herself. And that's why I thought it was so important in this program, because what I'm trying to teach you tonight is, and hopefully you're getting that from this message, every single major spiritual tradition on this planet is going to tell you in one form or another that the most important wisdom you'll ever gain, including from crystal masters, by the way, is to get to know yourself better. You need to know who you are, what your gifts are, what your gifts aren't, what you are attracted to, what you're not attracted to. And because the more you know yourself, the fewer mistakes you're going to make, right? You're not going to, as a crystal healer, I don't believe that you're here to help everybody. I believe that the people who need you will find their way to you, and you will gather the exact tools you need along your path to be able to support those folks. It's not, the goal of spiritual development is not to know everything, be everything to everybody, do everything for everybody, heal everybody on the planet, right? I think the goal is to really practice discernment, to gather the tools and the techniques and the wisdom that's kind of already in your path, and then to build that, to form that into something that's unique to you, your way of serving, or your way of healing, or your way of manifesting, right? And that's the work of the lifetime. For most of us, that takes 30, 40, 50 years to even figure out what that is. And then by the time we're really good at it, it's time to go home. So I think the earlier you can sort of figure out who you are, what your gifts are, right? Cindy Clark says, to thine own self be true, right? So Shakespeare was obviously tapping into some of this deeper wisdom, but in every major tradition, wherever you look around the world, there's this sense that really ultimately what you're doing, even tonight, is just unlocking what's already inside. You something in you is attracted to this program and to this class because what it's really going to do is just illuminate something that was already sitting inside of you anyway. I believe that to be true. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of beautiful things, and then we're going to dive into mudras, do a little work on the massage table, and then the last part of class from 5 to 6 p.m. will just be Q&A, whatever's on your mind. So I marked a couple of pages of things specifically. This whole book, by the way, is beautiful. It's called India in Word and Image. and this is a book that you can find online. You may or may not need it for your collection just because it's mostly pictures, but when it comes to India, it's like India is art, right? India is color. So I wanted to show you a couple of things that I thought would bring the country to life for you.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Do you love elephants as much as I do? You know, they're sacred in India because of Ganesha. Ganesha is the elephant god in the Hindu tradition who helps you overcome obstacles. And look at the beautiful lotus and the heart painted on him. I don't know if he's happy about it. I mean, he doesn't look mad. Doesn't look glad. Makes me want to paint Oscar, you know?
Oh, little.
I know.
Could probably use little chalkboard pens that wipe right off.
Put some tribal dots on Oscar.
Those little face markers we were using in Tucson.
I know.
Probably wash off with him.
You know, back off. You know, it's already hard enough, so.
You mistreat me quite a
You know, you have no boundaries, lady, so. Just showing you some pictures of seers, mystics. You're going to see the bindi very frequently. Those are the markings on the forehead at the third eye. You'll see that very commonly. Lots of face painting. A lot of times the painting will represent, you know, the tribe or the area. If someone is part of the tribal community or more of the indigenous community. And you know, Shram, that's really where Shram got his start. He was sharing this with me and Dave. And it's nice because some of the work that he's doing for SG allows him to financially support some of the indigenous folks who their traditions are being lost, some of their language is being lost, some of their tribal jewelry making skills are being lost, right? As the new generations become more modern and the kids are moving away from these remote areas and wanting to be, you know, in Delhi and in the big cities or leaving India completely. And part of Shram's desire is to really be able to strengthen the appreciation for, you know, the tribal traditions. I thought this was a beautiful image. The rivers in India, if you're not familiar, are so sacred that it's believed even walking by them will physically heal you. The Ganges River, which is known as a mother river, Mata Ganga, even if you just walk by the Ganges River, it's considered a source of healing. And then just a couple of other images I want to show you. I could have showed you the whole book, but I was trying to narrow it down. I thought this was beautiful. And then I'll read you. There's a little poem on the opposing page. Isn't this beautiful? It says, actually, was it this one I wanted to read you or the other? Let me go to the other page. Oh, it was this one. So this is just a painted figure. This is on a doorway of a temple. What you're seeing on the left side of your screen. Beautiful, 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 right? I love the headpiece and all of it. Thousands of years old, by the way. So here's what it says. This is from Gita Metta, and the book it's from is called The River Sutra. I did not care what happened next. My life was like a dreamless sleep, office routine following domestic routine. My wife adhered to the practice of fasting twice a week, and in an idle sort of way I began to fast myself, if only because I was dismayed at the weight I was gaining with my inactive life. Convinced he had won the battle against my doubts, my father sent me an elderly monk to sustain the efficacy of my fasts by teaching me our traditions. The old monk's air of contentment was so beguiling I became quite attached to him. Every morning before I left for work, I listened to his soft voice beneath the mask that covered his mouth as one listens to a piece of music. Do not trust the tranquility of your present mood, the old priest warned me. Some upheaval must await you. I teased him for making astrological predictions like a Hindu, and he silenced me with severity. You think I'm only an old man reading scriptures to you, but I can see you are suppressing something, and what is suppressed will always erupt. I was astonished. We'd never spoken of personal matters. Why do you think so? I see you withdrawing from your life, your possessions. You have even stopped eating. I started laughing. You came to these conclusions because you think I'm too fat. The monk ignored my sarcasm. You have traveled the world and think you've seen everything, and perhaps you have. But you have not learned the secrets of the human heart. How can you speak of secrets? I asked. My life is neither blameless nor unique. Ah, of course, the great teacher. What could he possibly know about mere mortals? This I know about mortals, that they long to be free. Many men die before they learn the desire for freedom lies deep within them, like a dammed river waiting to be released. But once a man has had that glimpse of freedom, he needs to be instructed further. I sneered at him, and I found myself intrigued at the same time, that this monk, with his limited knowledge of the world, might know some of the secrets of my heart that could shatter the shell of numbness that had begun to enclose upon me. As if reading my mind, he said, "What do you lose by hearing Mahavira's description of skepticism and nihilism?" I was taken aback. Mahavira spoke about these things? The monk was amused by my reaction. Over the many months, the monk's teaching continued to surprise me. He was able to predict how I would feel long before I arrived at those emotions myself, describing to me the states of my despair with greater accuracy than I seemed to be able to experience them. I told the monk I longed to share his knowledge, and he said, "But I have no knowledge. I'm only describing what has been observed by others who are far wiser than myself." Isn't that beautiful? So I chose that for you for today because my hope for tonight's class, okay, is that if you have been feeling that way, if you have been feeling like you're disconnecting or shutting down, or you're not feeling as alive as you did, right? We've all been through a pandemic in the last 2 years. And if you're a healer, you probably have people coming to you. Every therapist I know is booked solid, right? They can't keep up with the number of people who are depressed and discouraged and afraid and not sure they want to do this thing anymore, right? They're feeling like this real difficulty just being human right now. I think the healing, I truly, truly do, that most people need is elemental. And one of the things we can do, and we're going to dive right in now with the mudras, one of the things we can do is understand, right, where you need to titrate, where you need to balance and harmonize, right? If you've been so deep in water, right, so emotional, so crying a lot, weeping, in grief, like me, then we have to work with the balancing element, which is air, right? If you've been angry and frustrated and, you know, just like scratching at the walls of your cage, right? Because you've been bottled up, then you have to work with earth, right? That's the balancing element for fire. If you've been so depressed you can't get out of bed, that's too much earth and has to be balanced with fire. Then we got to get your sacral chakra moving and your solar plexus moving and light a little bit of that inner fire. If you've been in your head, honestly, like a lot of us, overthinking, what if, that isn't connecting you to your heart space. So we have to balance the air with water. And so we look at the balancing elements, right? And it's a great point that Annette makes, because she said her grief comes in the form of anger. My grief hasn't gotten to anger. My grief sits solely in the water element, right? I'm always this close to tears, you know, no matter, and I'm not a crying person, but my grief, like anything anybody says, something on TV, like I'm just this close to bursting into tears, right? So I think, and so for me, I'm really working on air. So how can I bring in air, breath, right? Hawk medicine. We can talk about animal spirit allies. But for the purpose of tonight, I really want you to, as we're going through these mudra exercises, I even want you to ask yourself right now, where are you elementally? You know, we didn't give you a quiz on this, but I'm kind of giving you a quiz right now. If you've been overthinking in your head, what if, like, you know, rehearsing trauma, right? Like worst case scenarioing, right? Making assumptions, then you've been too much in air and you got to come into water. If you've been crying too much and feeling too emotional and too vulnerable and just like you're right on the edge of tears all the time like me, Then it's time to balance that with air. And like I said, if you've been feeling really depressed, discouraged, not wanting to get out of bed, pulling the covers over your head, it's too much in earth and you need fire. If you've been angry, frustrated, right? Just noticing, not even putting a judgment on it, because none of these are good or bad. None of these are right or wrong. We all at all times are privileging one of the elements. Right now I'm privileging water, which is unique for me because it is the element I have the least of in my astrological chart, and it's something that I've actually always kind of resisted water, but it's actually where I've been sort of anchored for the past few weeks. One of the reasons we brought you the ring that's at sagegoddess.com today is to help you balance the elements, right? It's earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and the specific stones and the specific symbols to align to that. And that's why it came today, because we knew we were teaching you all of the elements tonight. And so if you want to, and if you wear it on your left hand, you're receiving that, right? So that's why I'm wearing it on my left hand. If you're working as a crystal healer and you want to create elemental balance for your client, I'm going to switch it over to my right hand right now, which will allow me, when I'm working on, I think Rachel I'm working on tonight,
Yes.
It'll allow me to create that elemental flow because I'll have those elements aligned on my hand. Does that make sense? Okay.
I can put an elemental quiz together.
I think it'd be kind of
I
fun.
do too, and then we can include like some ways to balance it and everything.
Yeah.
I can work on that.
Okay.
I don't know if I can work on it this week, but next week.
Give her a minute.
For sure.
But it'll be nice to come back. So, Catherine, you're going to learn all of the mudra-based techniques tonight. And then what I would tell you is there are stones that align to each element, right? And we can talk about that too. There are frequencies that align to each element, right? Musical notes and solfeggio frequencies that align to each element. So there's like layers and layers and layers and layers of correspondences for the elements that you can work with. But for tonight, we're going to work with the fingers and our mudra diamonds. You can shift elemental energy with your hands alone. And that's where we're going to dive into next. Okay. Now, I am going to show this drawing to you, but I'm going to fold the other page because even if I tell you not to look at it, if you're like me, you're still going to look at it. I don't want you to look at it, so I'm taking it away from you. Okay. So, and it's the same on both hands. Okay, these are the mudras. Again, this will all be in your notes. Okay, so I don't want you to try to like run to find this or anything else. You don't have to. But I'm going to show it to you here, and we're going to work through it together. Okay, so the mudras are the association in the Indian tradition, which again comes from the Vedas, that were channeled by the rishis. Okay, so this wisdom came from, according to the rishis, came from the sound Om. Okay, your fire element is always your thumb. Okay, that's called Agni in the Hindu tradition. Okay, and that is your activating element, because your thumb is going to connect to your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky. Fire in the Hindu path activates all of the other elements. Okay, your index finger is always air. Your middle finger is always spirit. Your ring finger is always earth, and your pinky is water. Let me go through this again, okay? Now what you may want to do, this is what I did when I was starting, okay? So, actually, I don't need those, Alexis, it's okay. Those are my bookmarkers in my book. If you have a pen, don't do it in Sharpie because it gets weird, right? Zoe does this stuff in Sharpie, and I'm always like, and then she's like, it won't come off my hand. I'm like, they don't call it a permanent pen for nothing, cutie, right? Is you can write F on your thumb, write it on both your thumbs. I am not ambidextrous, so on my right hand it's going to look like Bodhi wrote it. And then you're going to want to write air on your index finger, right? Spirit or ether, right, Akash is what they call it in Sanskrit. And then you're going to want to write an E for earth on your ring finger and a W for water. So again, fire on your thumb, right? Yeah, it is. It's Fasew. F. Doesn't look good. But you know, you get the point. Okay. And I'm telling you to do this until you get good at it, right? Because then that'll just be so easy for you. When you need to connect to water, it is the thumb and the pinky finger. Again, Agni, and you've heard of like Agni Mani, right? And Agni Monotype, right? Agni is a very powerful fire god in a lot of different traditions. It all comes back to the Sanskrit word for fire, right? So fire activates all of the other elements. Now, when you just need to work with fire alone, sometimes I will just work with my two thumbs. Or if I'm working on a client, okay, and they're super depressed, one of the first things I'll do, and I'll show you this tonight, is I will take my thumb, one on the soles of their feet and the other on the crown chakra, and I will just imagine moving that fire energy through their system, right? Just alternating feet, and I'll show that to you when we move over to the massage table. Draw on your body, darling, okay? So, and we're going to talk about how to know what to connect with, jelly beans, so hang tight. We're going to get there too. If you need to bring more air in, that's going to be your thumb and your index finger, right? So this is your mudra for air. If you need to bring in more of the spirit element, the Akash, right? And this also goes for channeling, because the spirit element is what's connected most primarily to your intuition. So when you're channeling, this is a great mudra. When you're just trying to connect with spirit and call in deeper wisdom and intuition, you want to use your Akash finger, your spirit element finger, okay? When you want to work with the earth element, that's your thumb and your ring finger. So somebody comes in and they are angry. This will happen to you. All of these things, if you are, yeah, and each one of the mudras has a Sanskrit name, and we will list all of that out for you in your notes. One of the reasons I'm not teaching you all the Sanskrit names tonight is I really want you to learn the basics before I start throwing Sanskrit at you. Okay, if I start going through the mudra names in Sanskrit right now, some people who are brand new to this, it's going to be too much for them and they're going to tune out. The most important thing for tonight's lesson is understanding that your fingers hold the elements. Now, what's interesting about this to me, and maybe you find it interesting too, and I think I wrote about this in my notes. Let me see if I did. Yeah. What the rishis said is that Atman came to the planet as Akash. Okay, so the soul arrived here as pure spirit. From spirit, the Atman gave breath, and that created the wind. Okay, so we started with pure spirit, we moved to air. From air, the Atman was able to create fire, right? Because you can't create fire without air. And so fire was the next element that was created. From fire, water was created. From water came the earth, right? Because you can't have life without water, right? Water is the requisite element. And from the earth came food. And from food came the capacity to sustain human life on the planet. So again, the order of operations according to the rishis is that Atman, the soul, arrived as the Akash, then created wind through the breath. The wind created fire, fire created water, water created earth, earth created food, and was able to sustain humanity. That's right, Candace McDonald. So when we talk about the Akashic records, the word Akash means spirit. So the Akashic records are the records of soul wisdom, right? And all souls across all time and timelines and dimensions and experiences of reality too. Okay, so I think that's interesting. Hopefully you do too. If you want to, so we do have all of the names. That's right, the Jnana Mudra for air, the Shuni Mudra for spirit, the Surya Ravi Mudra for earth, the Buddhi Mudra for water, and then the what they call there's other ones too, and we'll put all of those in your notes. I just don't want to layer that on top of all of this right now for purposes of not overwhelming everyone. The typing is loud. We can move the is it on our side that it's loud?
I think she's talking about me. I'll try to keep it down.
I know it's tricky. We want to be able to take notes for you, but
yeah, and the faster I type to reply to someone, the louder it. But I'm not typing that often. It's not constant.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too distracting.
I will try to keep it down for you, Christy.
Okay, so when you are working with, I forgot to bring my pendulum. We probably have one here, don't we? Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, one of the best ways. Okay, good. So again, once again, thumb is fire, right? And fire activates all the other elements, right? So fire activates air, fire activates spirit, fire activates earth, and fire activates water. And if you're just working with fire, you're just working with your thumbs. Okay? Okay, now, there's a couple of different ways. I want to teach you tonight how to do this for yourself and how to do it for other people, because I would say 75% of you are interested in working with other people, taking what I teach you and incorporating it into your practice as a healer. That's what 75% of people in Crystal Masters want, going by the numbers and by what you say when you register for programs. 25% of you don't want to work with other people, and that's okay too. You're here for you. You want to help your family, you want to help yourself, you want to enhance your own practice and your own understanding of crystals. You're not going to be working with clients or other people, and I actually think that's great. I mean, and you don't know, maybe you don't want to work with anybody now, but 10 years from now something inspires you and you like, yeah, I'm going to open a little shop, or I'm going to do this, right? So I really want to make sure I'm speaking to both kinds of people who are enrolled in this class. It's very important to me, okay? Now, your pendulum is always going to be a helpful tool. That's why I tell you, can you do crystal healing with no tools? Of course you can. Is there one tool I think everybody needs? Yes. I think you need a pendulum. Now, this necklace right here is a great pendulum. It's very accurate. And when I'm traveling and I don't have anything else because I never take this off, then this is my pendulum. And you've seen me do it before, right? So you can choose to not have like a pendulum. You can choose to work with a necklace that you love. When we go to Africa in April, one of your tools for Soul Shift is going to be a pendulum, because I have to do one a year so that if you want one, it's part of your tools. But if you already have a pendulum, I would really recommend this particular exercise, okay? Try to spread your fingers out as far as you can so that you get an accurate read. That's about as much of a spread as I can get on my little, because I have small hands. And what you do is run the pendulum over each of your fingers to understand, and you have to ask the question. So, is my water element in balance? And then you have to know the language of your pendulum. So for me, that is a yes. Is my earth element in balance? Yes. And I can feel that pendulum pulling across my hand. If you become sensitive enough to energy and to the field, you'll feel the energy moving. And give it a minute so you can really get an accurate read. Is my spirit element in balance? Right? Yes. Is my air element in balance? Yes. Is my fire element in balance? Yes. Now, I do a lot of work, right? So I'm not terribly surprised that my elements are in balance, because it's kind of the focus of almost everything I do. I'm telling you, as a strong statement, I think elemental balance is the most important thing you can achieve as a healer. And it's one of the first things you'll learn to recognize in yourself when one of your elements is out of balance. Let's say you don't have a pendulum, right? AR says they don't work for you, okay? and I always trust the source, right? So if you say, nope, can't do a pendulum, she's going to come up with a quiz, right? But there are some other questions you can ask yourself, right? And the way we think of what balance is you have to think about the wheel, right? The elemental wheel. So your balancing element is what sits across from the element that you're working on. So earth, right? If you think about the medicine wheel, earth is north, south is fire. So across from earth is fire. So that's going to be your balance. Earth balances fire, fire balances earth. West and east, right? West is water, east is air. So if you're too much in air, you're going to work with water to balance it. If you're too much in water, you're going to work with air to balance it. Okay? Yeah. Now, when you can ask yourself some questions, right? The elements tend to have at least one pronounced expression, right? So with water, you might notice a couple of things. Tears and crying and connecting to sorrow and sadness is one of the most obvious, but how's your abundance, right? Abundance is connected to the water element. If you are experiencing lack, like not enough money, not enough time, not enough, just feeling like not enough, you probably have an imbalance around water, and that gets balanced through air. We talked earlier about this too, like air imbalances often look like too much thinking, right? Intellectualizing things, overthinking things, making assumptions, right? Jumping ahead of things, being in your head all the time. That's usually an imbalance of air. Anxious thoughts, racing thoughts, what I call spinning on things, waking up in the middle of the night, making up scenarios. Did anybody else do that? Where you, am I the only one who like I will come up with things in the middle of the night that are nuts. And there's nobody there to tell me, like, are you nuts? Like, that's not going to happen. Or why are you thinking about that, right? Like, all of that kind of crazy making stuff that we do tends to happen mostly in the middle of the night. That's overactive air, right? So then you're going to want to balance that, right? And with water energy, right? Which is about getting out of your head and getting into your heart. How do I feel? Not what do I think, but how do I feel about that? Like, why is that coming up? Why do I feel that way? Well, I don't feel that way. I'm just thinking that. Then why am I thinking that? Right? How is that supporting me emotionally? And then you go, well, it's not. Okay, well, then maybe I don't need to do that, right? The overthinking, right? I'm Libra rising, so we tend to kind of be overthinkers anonymous in general, right? And like I said, when your earth is out of balance and you're too much in the earth element, that can often show up as severe depression, right? Again, feeling like you can't move, feeling like you're not making progress, feeling like you're stuck physically, energetically, right? Feeling like it isn't worth it, and starting to kind of like feel disconnected from your body, right? Sometimes gaining a lot of weight can be a sign of an earth element imbalance, or losing a lot of weight, not being able to keep weight on. Anything around your physical weight and form and anything that is imbalanced there is usually an earth element imbalance. And then needing to stimulate fire. I had a lot of trouble losing my pandemic weight. I had gained 10 pounds and I just couldn't, like, no matter what I did, I couldn't move it. And it was starting to really frustrate me. And this is exactly what I did. I started doing sacral chakra work. And I barely changed the way I'm eating. I started moving a little bit more. I lost the whole 10 pounds in a month after doing sacral chakra work. Because what I realized is I was totally disconnected from fire. I was disconnected from passion. I was disconnected from desire. I was feeling stuck. I was feeling like I just couldn't move, right? I was feeling kind of depressed and discouraged, right? So I'm just saying, I constantly am taking an inventory. Now I've been doing so much sacral chakra work that I may have to start to do a little bit more grounding. But not until, so I was like, I'll go back to doing earth element work once I've lost the weight, but there's no way, right? Okay.
I'm seeing a couple questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, if your spirit is out of balance, what does that mean, and how do you balance that one, since there's not the...
Yeah, the spirit one is the one that's tricky, in my experience. And remember that spirit means a lot of different things. Spirit can be crisis of faith, right? Questioning, is there a God? What's my purpose here? Am I fulfilling the terms of my contract? Questioning, magic, questioning your spiritual practice. How many times have you gone through that? Even me, right? I mean, I've been doing this work since I was literally 15, 16 years old, right? I'm turning 49. I've been doing it for a long time. I would say at least once a decade, my whole life, I've had a spiritual kind of crisis. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if I believe. I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know. When I was younger, every time this happened, I gave away my stuff. I stopped taking my classes. Does this sound familiar? Maybe I should just focus on work. You know what I mean? This airy fairy stuff, or like I had a scary spiritual experience. I was like, I'm never touching any of that stuff ever again. I gave away everything I had. So bummed, because I had some really nice, for being a kid, I had some sweet tools, and I wish I hadn't given it all away, but I was like, nope, I'm giving everything away. I'm never going back to classes. What am I doing? I don't belong here. None of this stuff is true. There's no God. Right? And then of course, like 6 months later, I'm like, no, I'm back. Like I'm here. I have faith, right? Like you learn to balance these things. Now there isn't, when it comes to the spirit element, here's the tricky part about it. It isn't like there's, like, you balance water with air, right? You balance fire with earth. There isn't that immediate across the wheel kind of like, here's what you do. The spirit stuff, right? The spirit stuff, that's where your gift of discernment becomes really powerful, because you may have to go to fire, to earth, to air, to water, to all of them to figure it out, right? To balance it. And so this is where having a pendulum as an example, right? Yeah, a lot of us or, if some of you came from a Mormon background, I came from a evangelical Christian background, right? Family members judging you, how could you do that? My mom saying that, I remember her saying like she could go to hell because of what I was studying and stuff. Which looking back, I'm like, really? Am I personally responsible for my kids' spiritual experiences? I'm just going to put it out there to, God and everybody. I hope not. I hope if my kids decide to do some weird shit, I hope I'm not on the hook for it. You know what I mean? If that's true, having kids is fucked up, right? But my mom said it. She's just like, I just hope what this could mean for me. And I'm thinking, I hope it doesn't mean anything for you, because that's really scary. Just because you pushed me out doesn't mean that like you should be going to a bad place, because I'm experimenting, right? So anyway.
The other big question
Yeah.
I'm seeing, which I think I might have the answer, but I'm not sure. But the other big question I'm seeing is, what happens if you have the two opposing elements both out of balance? So air and water, earth and fire.
That's a great question.
My assumption is that that's probably more common than not.
Yeah.
Because you do have to work with the other one. If you didn't have to work with the other one, it wouldn't be out of balance, right?
They're all connected.
No.
This is the thing. Let me say this, right? My mom was a medium. But she was also very Christian, right? So anyway, longer stories for another evening. That's the kind of stuff we can talk about in Rabbit Hole in Session 4. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Nothing that we're talking about tonight is an exact science. That's what makes this difficult and challenging and also really exciting. It's not like the only thing that's going to be out of whack for you is fire, okay? When you have a client come in angry, it doesn't mean that the only thing you need to do is focus on the earth element. There's probably other stuff going on there. And again, remember, grief can manifest as anger. Well, that means the water element, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to hear people saying, because you have to ask questions when you're doing a crystal healing session. What brings you in? If I asked you in one word to identify, the primary challenge that you're facing today, what would you say? I'm angry. Okay, well, so if you had to identify the primary source of your anger, what would you say? Well, life's unfair. Okay, well, talk more to me about that. What's making life feel unfair to you? Well, my friend, passed away, and I'm just pissed. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere, right? There's water under that fire. And so it isn't just like, this person's mad, so I'm gonna start just doing earth element mudras, right? That's one place to begin. But this is where leaning in and engaging your intuition and really listening and asking good questions and kind of poking and prodding, and then also just being open to what happens on the table, which will surprise you. And this is why I'm teaching you all of the elemental mudras, because you might be working on the table and that person is saying they're so angry, and all of a sudden you're like, we need to work on air. I'm just feeling like I want to do an air mudra. Or remember, you have two hands, right? So you can be working the earth mudra and all of a sudden just be like, I'm going to bring some air energy in, and I'm going to teach you how to move the mudras through the energy field tonight when we go over to the table. When you get into someone's field, and this is where a lot of what I'm teaching you tonight is complex, and where I want you to develop your own tricks and techniques and strategies for this. When you're in the field, within 12 inches of that person's body, you'll start to know, okay, and you're moving the mudras through the field, and all of a sudden this hand is very warm and this hand gets very cold. That might tell you that that you need to move this energy, but this one isn't accurate. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let me move to both earth mudras, and then this hand warms up. You're going to learn your body's own communication techniques. I get warm when I'm accurate. I get cold when I'm off. Okay, so if I start working a mudra and I'm doing two different mudras and one of them's working and the other one isn't, my one hand will stay warm, the other one gets very cold. As soon as I'm more accurate, then the hand gets warm again, and I know I'm on the right track. Now, the client's not going to see anything, right? They may not even know what you're doing. But meanwhile, you're activating elemental energies in the field. They're like, God, I feel better. What did you do? I brought in the elements, right? Okay, does that make sense? So this is about you understanding, first of all, what your fingers represent and learning to move fluidly between them in the moment, right? So what does it mean to work with, like right now I'm working with earth and spirit, right? Or, double water, right? So learning to move through them without having to look at them is the first step. Once you feel like you have that kind of fluency with your hands, then you'll start to learn, okay, this one's getting warm, I'm probably in the right area, or my hand will get cold if I'm working in the wrong area. Maybe I've got the right mudras, but I need to be in the upper body. Down in the lower body, there's nothing happening. So my wisdom will guide me to start working in the right part of the body too. This all takes practice. Now, for some of you, you're going to get excited about tonight, right? And want to do this all the time. Some of you may be like, well, what we learn in April or June might be more interesting to you. So certain parts of what we learn you're going to integrate right away, other parts you're not. What I love about what we're talking about tonight is if you are somewhere and you're in a meeting and it's not going well and you're freaking out, this can be so quiet in your lap. Like, can you tell that I'm activating energy? Like, we could be having a very difficult meeting right now and I'm about to cry. And I don't want to cry in this meeting, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to bring in air element energy to be able to move through this meeting. That's all you need to do, right? Or you're sitting in a meeting and you're overthinking the meeting and you need to get really, really grounded. So you're going to call in earth element energy. And I like to tap while I'm moving through, right? So, but even if you're just sitting quietly in a meeting, nobody will know that you're doing energy work. And that's one of my favorite things about the mudras. It's silent, but it is an activation. And it makes a big difference. And one of the things too that I love about the mudras is very few people do this automatically and consciously. It's not like you tend to sit in meetings like this. We tend to sit in the West with our hands like flat or folded or together, things like this. We tend not to actually work with our fingers in this way, so this is a new technique, right? And everything in your body responds to the mudras. Remember, these have been used and activated and taught and exchanged for thousands of years. The date of the Vedas takes us back over 5,000 years. So you probably have had past lives where at one point or another you were activating this energy too. So why don't we head to the table? Yeah, that would be really great. Now, each month we give you some kind of, and we didn't do this last year, and I thought it was a miss, which is why we've incorporated it this year. We are giving you a scent tool each month, right? Last month we gave you an incense stick. This month you got this little solid perfume, and don't throw that away or get rid of it. It really is meant to be worked with for the mudras. There's an attar in here for each one of the elements. And an attar is a blend of flowers from India. They only make them in India. And it's a distilled blend of real flowers, but flowers that only come from India. So there's an amber attar, there's one called Majmua, which is an air element attar, or air element attar. The amber element attar is an earth element attar. Kura is for spirit. So is Motia. And then the pink lotus is associated with water. The blue lotus is associated with spirit. The white lotus is associated with, it's either spirit or air. So there are ingredients in this that represent and activate all 4 of the elements. So what I'm going to recommend is, before you do any spiritual work, especially associated with the mudras, is just get your fingertips in this. It's almost like, have you ever done notary before, where you had to notarize a document and they have to take your thumbprint? I just want you to do this before you start your mudra work, because the oils in this blend, hopefully it didn't take your letters off, but the oils in these blends are designed to activate the energies in a different way, right? Because scent is activated differently from the others. And so if you didn't get it, if you didn't get the tools, we do have Mudra Attar on its own at sagegoddess.com today. Don't leave now to go and get it, but it's a bigger size. A lot of you really fell in love with this, so some of you are getting it just because you want more. And we put little blue lotus flowers on it. So again, same thing applies. Just get your fingertips in it before you do your mudra work.
And it just smells really good, guys.
And it smells good. Jenny's a notary. You know what I mean? Like, get your little thumbprint in there. Do your thing. Okay, so we're going to move over to the table.
Okay.
You can also give it to your client if you're working on someone to let them work with it, but I think it should be kind of your secret weapon.
Okay, I'm going to flip this microphone.
She's going to flip it.
Time to flip the microphone.
She's gonna flip it. I gotta pack up all my tools, honey. Okay.
Then I'm going to do this.
Are they still looking at me, or are they looking over there? Oh, now they're looking over there. Say hi to
I'm going to fix the
Rachel.
camera.
Oh, that's right.
Because it got moved.
They
Hi,
can
everyone.
see you very bad.
Say hi to Rachel. Okay, Rachel, can you let me know if this
Yes.
looks
That's a little bit more this way. Turn, yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
it's because they're going to want to see your feet.
There's something that's in the way. Yeah, let's go with that.
It's because we moved this. Some guys technical difficulty. Okay. Get this out of the way.
Now there's a couple of
Thank you, Rachel.
There's a couple of different ways to work with the energy that we're working with tonight. If you're just moving energy and balancing energy, you don't have to open a circle. I know normally we would have like a nice pillow for under her knees,
Okay.
something for under her head, but
This-
we're just gonna.
This is a better angle, right?
I think this is really good. I can see really clearly on the screen, so hopefully everybody can
Good.
too.
All right.
Okay. Now, and one of the things I really want to encourage you, and I try to model this by showing you when we're together, is how to incorporate other crystals into the practice too.
What do you
Do you see the little desert rose selenites I had over there?
Oh,
there, yeah.
Go.
So desert rose selenite, this was new today, is a cleanser. It's a purifier of the auric field. One of the things you'll notice when you're working with other people is that their hands, like she's laying peacefully and she's a practitioner and stuff, so she knows what to do. But sometimes people like they don't know what to do with their hands. Like you'll find them like they're trying to put them over there, they don't know what to do with them. It's nice to give people a crystal to hold while you're doing crystal work on them, especially if it's something connected to the work that you're doing. So I'm going to put a desert rose selenite in each of your hands, and you can close your hands over it. Desert rose selenite is a really nice little cosmic purifier. It's almost like obsidian in a way. Functions the same way. Obsidian's more powerful, candidly, but sometimes obsidian is too much. It's almost like a very light, airy, ethereal stone for cleansing and moving energy. So it's nice to give them something like that to work with. I also, when I'm doing crystal healing, like to put an eye pillow. I almost brought one today because I have them at home. We should have sage rose eye pillows, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, something over the eyes so that she can be a little bit more comfortable. I don't have anything right here that will work with, but she can close her eyes on her own. Okay. Now, I always, and this is why I gave this to you as a soul shift tool. I'm trying to figure out, oh, they're on there. Hi. We gave this to you as a soul shift tool in January because it's such a great way to begin and end a crystal healing session, to have a double terminated quartz point. It doesn't have to be big like the ones from our tools. It can be very small. It can actually be just like a little ½ inch, like a Herkimer diamond. It doesn't have to be anything that impressive. But I always begin a crystal healing session above the head, bringing the wand over the body, below the feet, and then back up and over. What that does, because quartz is such a powerful mineral, it's the highest vibration mineral on the planet, and it's a unifier of energy. So quartz brings the whole field together. Now, because we're doing balancing work, I also want to go side to side across her body to the other side of her hand, and then back this side over. So I've covered the 4 directions across her, which basically creates a container for the work that we're going to do together. In some ways, it functions very similarly to opening the circle. You're acknowledging the 4 directions, you're anchoring the 4 directions. If you wanted to open a circle, let's say you were going to remove energy and maybe release through a portal or down to the center of the earth, you could take a moment here just to properly open a circle. And then when you're done, just always remember to release that energy. I'm not going to be doing anything like that tonight. I'm not releasing or extracting. That's work that we're going to be doing together when we go to Mexico. And that will be next month. Next month is extraction, releasing energy, and so we're going to be focusing a lot more in that direction. Okay. So I always, too, when I'm starting an energy session or a crystal healing session, I do like to bring the pendulum through the field and ask the question, are there any areas of imbalance? And I'm just going to do a quick read of her field. Looks like the upper chakras are clear. Stop at the heart, back to the throat, feels clear. Okay, now you can see the pendulum is shifting right at the solar plexus. Feels like fine for reading my body. Everything always stops at the solar plexus. So we have some work to do at the solar, work to do at the sacral. Root's okay. And I'm just going to bring it back up through just to validate that. So root's okay. You can see it turns again immediately at the sacral. Yep. Continuing through the solar plexus. Heart's okay. I don't get a strong heart response as I do at the throat. Throat's good. And then crown, third eye and crown is very strong. Okay, so we know kind of where we're headed. Now, we gave you 4 mudra diamonds. The intention is that there's 2 for your client and 2 for you. Okay, which 2 you'll need for you and which 2 you'll need for your client is up to you. I like to choose based on the reading I did. If your heart chakra and your root chakra felt like they were more imbalanced, I probably would give you those to work with. Now you can choose to hold the two that are more imbalanced for the client and give them the others, but I'm going to give you the two that represent your own imbalance. Now, remember, and these are both sacral stones. This is peach aventurine and sunstone, which is perfect for you. And remember, we're working primarily, when we work with these particular stones, we're working primarily with the fire element, but I want her to hold them between two fingers. So here's a quiz for you. You know kind of where her general imbalances are chakra-wise. Would you ask her to hold it between the thumb and the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, or pinky, if this was your client? This requires a little bit of intuition on your part. Okay, and you may choose to actually think about this before the client or your friend or family member is even on the table. Like, feel into it. Like, today you're working on Rachel. You know, I think we should work on fire and water, which is where my mind goes for her. So what I'm going to have you do is hold these between your thumb and your pinky finger on both hands. And just give it to them and let her find her way rather than trying to like sort of force it. Give her a second to place them.
Is now okay to ask questions?
Yeah,
or-
just
okay.
as we're going for sure.
Lori Michelle says, how exactly do you read chakras with a pendulum? Is
Okay.
yes balanced and no blocked? I think it depends on the question you're asking.
It depends on how you're reading it. Okay, you might. I always read a no response as meaning work, not balanced. Okay, it depends on how you're framing the question and how you communicate with your pendulum, and that's up to you, because you're going to develop your own kind of default strategy for how you communicate and how you read. You could see though that it turned, right? So no matter how I was reading it, there was definitely a shift of the energy when I was sitting over her solar plexus and her sacral chakra that I wasn't seeing at all in the uppers of the room, right? So that would tell you, even if you weren't reading it that particular way, you would see the shift in the energy. And again, you don't have to use a pendulum, you can use your intuition. My intuition was guiding me to fire and water, so I kind of would have landed where I was anyway, but it's a nice validation sometimes to work with a pendulum, just especially if you don't yet have your confidence or your intuitive skills are still developing. That's a great way to do it too.
Miss Libra Scales says, can you go over which element represents each chakra?
Yeah, let's talk about that too. Before we do, I do want to say something. The reason that we're working with this tool for the mudras, okay, is in part because of the shape, okay? You'll notice it has a sort of a thicker barrel on it, and then it comes sharply to 2 points. It is double terminated, but there's a weighting to this piece that is different from most double terminated stones that you would work with, okay? And it's about pressure too. So you want to guide your client when they're working with the mudra stones. If they want to, they can really push in, and it activates the meridians in the body, okay? So she's doing energy work already, and if she's not sure if it's working, you can say, put it down in one hand and keep it in the other hand and see if you notice a difference, right? Encourage them to experiment with it too. You don't want them pushing so hard that they break skin, but you do want them pushing hard enough where when they put it down, there's a little indentation, because that's enough pressure to be moving energy through the meridians. Does that make sense? But that's why these are called mudra diamonds, because it's a shape that, because of the points and because of the sharpness of the points and because of the weighting of the piece, it actually is functional as a tool to move energy through the meridians. And one of the things too, you can also invite, like, she could place one of those alternatively on the sacral and the solar plexus and see how she feels there too, right? Because they're little transmitters, they're going to be sending and receiving. And she can place them either horizontally or vertically and let the intuition drive that process, okay? Because again, the client always knows what they need to heal. They're coming to you to hold the space, and because you have some wisdom they don't have. But you have to trust, I trust that she knows what she needs to do to heal. She's sitting here for a reason, and her intuition, if I give her that freedom during the session, like, hey, you can hold those, you can put them on your body. You can put one over your third eye. Let her move while I'm moving so that she feels like part of the process. She's not just laying there waiting for me to like wave my wand and fix everything. I think trusting in the sovereignty of the client is very important. And if you see her putting them on the body, then let me offer her now the Desert Rose Selenite again, just to give her an alternative. And again, she may choose to work with those in different ways as well. Okay, now, remember that your hands are the magic, right? Her hands are the magic, my hands are the magic. She has a 12-inch energetic field, I have a 12-inch energetic field. So right now, wherever I move my hands, I'm in her field. Mudra. And I want you to hold your hands. You can do it over your own body too, if you're just working for yourself. And slowly raise them above. I'm still in the field. Remember, it's 12 inches for you and 12 inches for her. So I have to go over 2 feet above. And I want you to start to discern when you leave the energy field. Okay, it's very important for you as a crystal healer to start to know this, not because I'm telling you, but because you learn to recognize it. And again, this is so subtle. I can still feel her. You might have to close your eyes if you really have trouble sensing subtle energy. Yeah, I can feel now that I'm moving out of her field. This feels out of her field. And you can just try reading with your flat hands too. Like my hands are very warm right now, but they'll get colder as I move out of her field. Yeah, I'm not in her field at this point. Now there are some energetic techniques that are good to do out of the field, right? When if she came in, and when I used to do in-person healing, I mean, people would come in hysterical, crying, angry, yelling. I mean, so if I have somebody who's really in a state of disruption, when they first lay down, I'm going to work outside the energy field, right? I'm going to try to call in energies of calm, call in energies of peace, and almost create like a blanket over her to try to bring her energy into the room first. And and I literally see myself as like gathering energy, setting an intention and bringing in those energies over her and creating like a blanket. Now she's not in that state, but if she was, I mean, I had clients who would come in after having a miscarriage or after having a, you know what I mean, and just in a state of like, I had one client come in, her husband had just asked for a divorce, and she literally got in her car and came to see me, and it's like, that's big energy to be containing. And before I can help, I need that person to be in their body, right? So you can also learn to read and just pull in energy. When my kids were babies, right, temper tantrums, right, I would do mudra work and this energetic sort of blanketing and gathering work to kind of call them into their body. And then again, temper tantrums are usually like fire hot energy. You want to balance that, or if they're screaming and crying, you want to balance that, right? So go into an air mudra. And then I would just work in the field across them, right? They're having a tantrum, I'm listening, but I'm also almost like weaving or knitting with the mudra through the energy field. So for her, there's a couple of energies that I'm sensing. And you can ask the client to validate. I usually don't, I just do the work. I trust if they're coming to me, they have some trust in my capacity to read the energy, and I don't walk them through every single step that I'm doing. But there's a little bit of earth element energy, a little bit of grounding that could be helpful, especially here, right? She's very grounded at her root, but where she needs that grounding is in the sense of self and in the sense of her creativity center, right? Her creation center. And so there's a little bit of energy of wanting to ground that energy into her body. So I'm going to bring the earth element mudras in and just start to work the energy. And you can almost visualize yourself bringing that mudra down, especially if she's got the diamonds like she does right here, bringing that energy down and connecting it. You do not have to touch the pieces because you're within the field. And again, learn how to just move your hands, and that's going to be intuitive for you. I find myself moving in like an infinity symbol over the area, and then I start to trust my intuition. Where's my intuition taking me? Now I'm feeling like air and earth. And so this is about bringing in energies of clear thinking, being in her body, right? Having a clear perspective. You might see yourself as connecting the two diamonds together. And again, using the energy of the mudras. It's almost like you're knitting. It's kind of what it feels like. Gathering the energies together. And then, again, just trust your intuition and feeling like I need to stimulate the fire energy of these two diamonds for her. So I'm going to pull the energy of those two diamonds up and use my thumbs to come together and anchor that fire energy in her field. And this is where it just becomes intuitive, right? I feel like I'm opening I'm a medium too. So the word that's coming to me is cauldron. It's like creating a cauldron here. Allowing the fire to build is what the guides are saying. Creating a cauldron of energy. And they're talking about her left side needing more of that energy than the right side, so I'm moving here. And now what I'm hearing is connect this left side to the heart. So there I'm going to go in with water element energy. I'm going to keep the fire element energy here, and I'm going to connect it to water element energy over the heart. And my hands are hot right now. I mean, my hands are hot, which usually for me means something's on the right track. So stay with it. You might find the hands wanting to follow each other. You might find them working in opposite directions, right? One is going left and one's going right. Feeling like they both want to go right. And in some states, you can't physically touch people. If you're in a state where you can, and you've agreed with your client that they are okay being touched, it's always good to have those conversations. You can physically touch if you feel called. But again, what's beautiful about energy work is I don't think you have to. I mean, you'll do the same amount of work above the body as you would if you were physically making contact. Now I want to read. I want to check that reading of her left and right. Is the left side balanced? Is the right side balanced? No. Is the left side balanced? Notice I'm keeping the water mudra over. Now I'm going to bring my mudra diamonds in. Okay, so I'm going to keep working over her heart. I'm on the left side, and I'm going to come to the right side. Left side. Now, when I'm over her left side with I've got the bloodstone mudra diamond. My hand is very warm over the left, very cold over the right. So what I'm going to do is switch stones. And you can keep working with the mudras just with your fingers. You don't have to have the diamonds again. It's optional, it's helpful. Okay, and now my hand is hot over the right side. So I think I have the wrong stone. Now I've got the right stone. Now, because I know that I aligned the left side, I want to see if I can align the right side. So I'm going to become intentional about where I'm holding this one. I'm going to go in with water over the right side and water over the heart. And again, I'm in the work, so I'm just following my intuition. Right side balanced. It says yes now. Is the left side balanced? Yes. Can you feel the energy moving?
I can definitely feel the energy moving.
Yeah.
It's like a vortex.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna bring it to the mudra diamonds. She's got one of her solar plexus. Is the solar plexus balanced? Say yes. Is the sacral balanced? Say yes. Now, that can be it. And we moved energy pretty quickly. Now, again, she's a practitioner, so that makes a difference. Because she's very self-aware. I can guarantee you, she's doing work while I'm doing work. So she's connecting in, she's feeling and sensing. She's also got clearing stones. Notice where her hands are in relationship to the chakras that we're working on. Right? It's in very close proximity. So she's got these 2 desert rose selenite that are within 12 inches of where the mudra diamonds are. So she's doing a whole layer of cleansing and moving right now that isn't even part of what I'm doing. And again, I see that as a partnership, right? I'm giving her tools so that she can do work while I'm doing work. She's not just laying there waiting for me to fix everything, right? So I'm going to take the mudra diamonds from you. Now, the reason that we chose these stones is they're going to be the ones that most of the time are going to be the workhorse stones for you, right? A lot of times the sacral chakra and the lower chakras are the biggest areas of challenge for people, especially people who come for crystal healing sessions. That's why I didn't give you amethyst or lapis. Very few people come in and really need you to align their third eye. Right? Most people come in with physical challenges, and these are the 4 most powerful stones that we could give you to address those physical and energetic balances or imbalances from the neck down. Okay, we've got your heart chakra covered. We've got aventurine works for solar plexus and for sacral. Sunstone is probably the best of the stone options that we have for sacral work. And then your garnet and your bloodstone are going to get the most use, because bloodstone is your multi-purpose, all-purpose healing stone. It's for pain relief. You know, if she came in and said, my back hurts so bad, I would have her on her stomach, and I would be doing work, same kind of work on her chakras, but I'd be doing them with more direct contact to her back. And so I really listened to what the person says presenting. Now in her case, I kind of just moved intuitively to see what she needed. But when someone's coming to you for a healing session, they usually have a clear idea of what might be needed. Now, once I'm done addressing what they came in for, that's when I kind of go off on my own. And again, 9 times out of 10, they're like, I had no idea I needed that, but I totally needed it. So that's why you want to listen to the person and what they're looking for, but you also want to be open to other things. This is a little harder to do when it's you. You know what I mean? Because you also may not be aware of what you need, and that's why you're going to have to learn to use your intuition on you. Now, the other thing you can do is take your diamonds, and spread them out. Let me see what I'm doing here. Let me go to the other side. Take your diamonds and spread them out if you're just working on you. With enough room in between so you can really read accurately. And then ask, which of the diamonds do I need for my own healing work today? Do I need bloodstone? Do I need garnet? So it said bloodstone for me, which would be accurate, right? Like I'm having a health challenge at the moment. It's not severe, but it's a challenge. Do I need peach aventurine? It's saying yes. Do I need sunstone? No. So then these would be the 2 that I would work with for my own healing.
They're wondering about the chakra correspondences
Yeah.
between the diamonds and between the elements. So
Yep.
my guess is that the garnet is for root, sunstone is sacral, peach
Yep.
aventurine can work for solar plexus, and I would use the bloodstone for heart.
Yeah.
And then that my guess is also that root chakra is
Yeah.
correspondent to the earth element.
Yeah, so here's generally how I think about it. Now, and keep in mind, I didn't give you the whole universe of possibility, right? So in a perfect world, we'd have 7 of these. They would align to the 7 chakras and the elements directly, and that would be all we need. But you only have the 4. So let's talk about chakra correspondences first, because we'll begin there, and then we'll talk specifically about the alignment of the stones. So and this is kind of the world according to me, right? I wrote the book about chakras, and so, but I'm not the world's foremost expert. So you may have your own experiences of the chakras, and I would tell you to trust that over what I'm sharing with you, but this is kind of it's certainly based on the Vedas and based on my own experience and connected to my book. So above your head, you have chakras. Beneath your feet, there are chakras. Those are called the transpersonal chakras, meaning they don't belong to you alone, right? They belong to the planet. They belong to the upper dimensions. That's where we start connecting with angels and guides, right? So the 7 chakras that we always hear about from crown to root are called the personal chakras. Those are the ones that are actually part of your personal energetic field. So those are the only ones in a crystal healing session, unless she's specifically asking me to help her connect with her spirit guides. I'm not going to work in the transpersonals. Or unless she's asking me to help her with ancestral work, which would be earth star work or lineage work, that would also be transpersonal. By and large, in a crystal healing session, you're working with the 7 personal chakras. The crown chakra, which is right at the top of your head, for me is very much the spirit chakra, the Akash. And so that would primarily be your spirit mudra, right? So if I'm doing work in the crown chakra, again, almost never happens. Out of all the crystal healing sessions I've ever done, I'm trying to think, I've had a couple people come because they thought their third eye was blocked because they were cursed. It's weird, but that's come up for me over the years. I can't see anything. I can't connect with my spirit guides because somebody cursed me and blocked my third eye. And then we come to find out, at least in the cases I've been involved with, nobody cursed them. They just got scared at some point and kind of blocked themselves. I really don't know that there are people who are cursed with a third eye blockage. I haven't seen it. It's not to say it couldn't happen. But up here, we're usually working with the spirit. I would say probably the same thing, really, when you're talking about the third eye. These tend to be more of your Akashic chakras, if you will. So the spirit element tends to be here. For me, the throat is very much air. For me. Because the throat is expression, and it's also, remember, the throat isn't just what you say, it's what you write, it's how you think, what your thought patterns are like. So people will say, well, I don't think I have a throat chakra blockage. I talk to people for a living, and it's like, and then what you learn is they stopped journaling 2 years ago because somebody found their journal and read it, and they were horrified, and now they don't want to write anymore. No, but that happens all the time.
I know.
Right?
Did you see me cringe?
No,
I
I
know.
know.
Harriet the Spy. That movie used to give me such anxiety because they stole her journal and then everyone was mean to her. Oh, sorry.
I
It gives
had
me
the
anxiety.
worst throat chakra experience in school. In 7th grade, actually, I wrote a letter to a boy, and this other girl who liked him grabbed it from him. He was reading it. She went and made photocopies of that letter and put them in everybody's locker.
Oh.
So I came to school the next day, and I mean, you can imagine. Can you imagine if social media had existed? I mean, I always say, like, thank God I grew up in the 80s with no social media, no phones. I mean, that would have been, like, the end, right? But anyway, I often think about how, like, thank goodness that I was able to heal that, because I became a writer. Like, I was a writer. And I don't think I could have done that if I had allowed that kind of, like, trauma experience to block that. So I think of all of this stuff at the throat as being very much air. Now, at the heart, I tend to think of what? Water, right? I mean, the heart chakra for me is a very watery chakra. It doesn't respond to reason. This is spontaneous emotion at the heart chakra, right? The solar plexus is where it gets interesting because you can see it in a couple different ways. I think of the solar plexus as being kind of air to a certain extent. I also think of the solar plexus as being earth, because it's about the core of your identity of who you are in this lifetime on this planet. And so it's like your will and your strength and all of that. And you do have to be grounded to a certain extent to heal the solar plexus chakra. And you have to be strong to heal it. It's very masculine. So maybe that's also why I kind of see it. Do you guys have a different elemental correspondence you think of with solar plexus, or is it kind of an air earth thing?
I see some person. Hold on. Somebody said, I believe it was okay. So Crystal says root earth, sacral water, solar plexus fire, and heart air.
Yeah. So like you guys may have different. So for me, sacral is fire.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's almost all fire. So that's why when I was working through her sacral, I was really working primarily with my thumbs. For me, sacral is. And to some extent the solar too. I think the solar is kind of the wild card for me because depending on what you're working on and the person that you're working with, they may have a lot of fire in that solar, right? Versus for me, it tends to be very airy. My identity is for me is very much like how I think about myself versus what I do.
I think I tend to associate it by the colors too.
Yeah.
And yellow is associated with the air element. So that's how I remember like it when like on the elemental ring, for example, I believe the yellow stone is a citrine.
Yeah, the
Don't
citrine
quote
is
me.
for air. No, it is.
Yeah, but it's yellow. So that's kind of how I associate it. But I can see how it could also be fire too. If your solar plexus is activated and you're feeling strong and empowered, I think there is a bit of a fiery element to that now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, I remember the ego sits there, and the ego can become very activated. And for some people, ego activation looks like, fire.
I'm seeing people say it can be different for different people. I completely agree, and I think it really comes down to intention. It's really about what you're visualizing. If you're working on someone's solar plexus and you're visualizing that fire and that energy, I think that's going to come through. And if you're visualizing air, that energy is going to come through. It's really about your intention as a practitioner and an energy worker. I think that has a huge impact.
Yeah. No, I think all of that is true. So I think for each one of you, it might be helpful as you're coming into this work to think about what is it for you, right? But being open to things being different and also recognizing if I have one particular perspective but she has a totally different experience, it's still good for me to know or to lean into. Or what might happen is I'm over here working all this fire energy and all of a sudden I feel called to do some air work. But it could be because this is how she perceives the energy there, right? Or it could be she's got a blockage here, but it's less about her emotions around it, it's more about it's a mental block here, right? So then when I'm feeling called to bring air element energy in addition to fire, it's more than just what I think. It's also the alchemy of what's happening with her right now, right? So you may have all these hard and fast ideas about the correspondences, but have to shift those a little bit in the moment to be able to be a good healer to the person who's on your table. And then, of course, for me, root is.
I don't know if it's made a difference or you feel something, but like I have been suffering from nausea lately.
Yeah.
And just like it'll just come out of nowhere. And right now, I don't feel it. When I first laid down, I felt it. And maybe just from laying down.
Yeah.
And then with my sacral, I have been suffering with fertility treatments, and it's something that I'm trying to work on. It's so hard for me to picture how to do that, with sound tools and meditating. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. And then and
it felt like a cauldron. I felt spinning
when I was doing that.
Yes, it's like the energies were intertwining.
Ooh.
And that's why the more information you gather from the person that you're working on, you can start to be integrative with tools like she mentioned. Fertility, which so much of what happens in our sacral chakra or related to fertility is about the frequency. And so you can use a tuning fork, whether you apply it to the body, and again I'm feeling like there's so much energy that has to be moved on this left side. I'm kind of leaning in and feeling, again my hand gets really warm when I'm in the right area. Or again, you don't even have to touch, right? Just simply bringing the sound in within 12 inches to move can be very powerful too. But yeah, and sometimes nausea, the release of nausea is always energetic, right? I always tell, I've taught my kids how to breathe through nausea because I think it's one of the most important skills people can learn, because you can always stop nausea, not always, 99% of the time you can stop nausea with breath, using breath work. And so learning how to breathe through nausea, but also recognizing that the relief of nausea is energetic. Right? So, and a lot of times nausea is the gathering of energy in one place,
And your body's, usually we throw up when we feel very nauseous because your body just wants to release that. So if you vomit after being nauseous, it's because you didn't move the energy, right? If you move the energy, you release the blockage without your body having to go through this very arcane, like erupting process, right? So we can always move nausea through breath. It's very important. It's one of the things you learn when you do plant medicine work, because most plant medicines make you nauseous at some point during your journey, and so it's very important to know how to move through that. If you have a good shaman, they'll come over and breathe with you, but if you already know how to do that, then you don't even need help when you get to those places. So.
They're sending you a lot of love and blessings, Rachel.
Aww.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you for being my my person today. I really appreciate it. So, do you guys have any other questions? So let me just say one more thing. Normally, before she leaves the table, you don't have to leave back down. It's okay. I would, just to close the session, I do always like to bring it back through the field. I'm going to do it with you right here. Just to close the circle, and then I'm going to balance you one more time going east to west. So here, up, and then trying to make contact with your central meridian. Which again is sort of like acknowledging and releasing the directions. It also concludes the session and allows her to feel like, you know, the process is complete. So thank you.
Yay!
I'm okay, thank you though.
Are we
It's
switching
super
back
yummy.
to this side of the table?
Okay.
Alright, let me do this. Do this. I'm coming back.
So Michelle, I'm hoping that you saw through this, because I was trying to narrate, you know, here's how to do this for yourself versus how to do it for someone else. All the same rules apply, right? You can bring that wand through your field, left and right, north, south, east, west. You can run the pendulum over your own chakras if you want. You will use the same diamonds, the same mudras, right? Obviously, you're not going to be able to hold crystals and work the mudras at the same time, but you can put crystals on either side of yourself. You can sit and actually put a grid around you. You can put your chumpy stones around you, and then it's the same exact process, moving through your own field and trusting your intuition. Sometimes you're going to feel like I need more air. I'm feeling like I need air at the crown chakra, feeling like I need water at the heart chakra, right? And just moving through it's exactly the same thing. You have a few more options when you're working on someone else, but the process is essentially the same. Yeah. Oh, nice. Seer Chana said, I use the diamonds on myself and I feel better. It's a pretty amazing thing. And remember, one of them, the bloodstone, is my favorite affordable stone for pain relief, right? The other pain relief stones, Natrolite and Axonite, are very expensive and wouldn't have been possible to do. A Natrolite mudra stone would probably cost over $100 alone, at least. So by getting the bloodstone in the mix, I've given you one of my favorite stones for pain relief and in a perfect form to work with. So if you have any kind of pain, whether it's nerve pain or muscle pain, really work with that bloodstone mudra diamond. That may end up being your favorite tool. The other thing you can do, much like an extractor diamond, would you mind grabbing them real quick? I left them over there. Is you can use them to stimulate energy. Do you remember how I taught you to do that with the extractor needles a couple of years ago? How can you get just diamonds? I don't, it's an Alexis question whether the team ordered more diamonds in other stones. I actually don't know.
I've been telling people that I'm not sure, but that we would definitely get back to them about, sometimes they wait until the classes to see if you guys want more, if it's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
Obviously you guys are interested in it, so we're going to get back to the team and let them know. I've seen a lot of requests for a full chakra set.
I want a full chakra set.
I think that's really, really cool. So I already
or
made a
quartz.
note.
Wouldn't quartz be nice? Because then you can program it. I'm always, if I can't have everything, then I just want quartz.
I think quartz would be
Because you can, remember I taught you last month how to program quartz, right? So you can program quartz to behave. as any other stone, right? So yeah, so Tia, a great suggestion from Tia. Let me show you one more time. The bloodstone is the green, the garnet is the red, and then the orange with the specks is sunstone. You might see a little black tourmaline in there. There's some quartz in the matrix. And then the solid, peachy, some are darker, some are lighter. By the way, the difference in the color in your peach aventurine is hematite. Pretty interesting, isn't it? More hematite, less hematite. It's just different parts of the mine. So, and one's not better than the other. It's just... Now, you should know that this is quartz. So if you already have your Mudra diamonds, and let's say like you really, really, really wish you had some other stone, program this one. Aventurine is a quartz-based mineral. It's quartz plus mica and whatever mineral inclusion, but it's 95% quartz. So technically you already have a quartz version. I would like a clear quartz version, and technically you already have a hematite version, which is this one. So this can work alternatively as almost any other stone, and definitely as a root chakra stone if you wanted it to. Isn't that cool? Okay, so another little like extra bonus trick or tip that you can do with these is work with them like I taught you to work with extractor needles, which is a different tool, and I don't want to go into all of that right now, but basically it's a long, thin needle with a round end. When you have a stone that's sharp like this, we've talked about holding it between the fingers to activate that element and also to activate the meridian lines, right, in your body. You can activate any part of your body with these. So one of the tricks I like to do before starting an energy session, because remember, energy gets channeled in your body 3 places, really. You run energy the top of your head, you run energy through the palms of your hands, and you run energy through the soles of your feet. Those are the 3 main places that energy enters your body. It's the 3 main places where energy leaves your body. Hands, feet, top of your head. So it's a nice little meditation in a way. I always make clockwise circles, once around each of your hands. So you're activating all of the chakras in your hands. If you're ticklish, the feet are really tricky, but I love it. And then, my feet are dirty, but, you're just going around the soles of your feet. And it feels really funky. It also feels really good.
You looked just like you were in such bliss just now.
It's super blissy. I love it. It just like, and if you kind of push, you can still feel it like a minute later. It's like, I don't know, it feels good. And then top of your head. So the same thing, you're just going to make a clockwise circle. That feels really good. Boop, 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 boop. Doesn't that feel good on the top of your head?
Oh, we do have other stones on the way in Mudra diamond shapes.
Oh yeah. See, I didn't even know that. I just work here. But I'm happy to hear that. But even just quartz would be nice, because then we could program it.
I love quartz.
Are your feet
Quartz
ticklish?
is really fun.
I'm super ticklish on my feet. But I like it. Yeah, that's true. And counterclockwise, Marty, is called moonwise. So sunwise and moonwise. In pagan traditions, it's called Deosil, which again means toward the sun, and Widdershins, away from the sun, right? No, Gloria, but you know what really, well, it might, but you know what really helps with headaches? The back of the neck right here on either side of your spine. If you have a headache, just do a little open circle on the left and a little open circle on the right. And just make a line. Feels really good. You'll get into it. You'll find your patterns. Like I have a very mild headache right now, and this just feels like so good. It's almost like I didn't have enough caffeine today type of headache. And that feels really good. The other thing that's good for headache, this is a pressure point for headache. So just using it in the little webby part of your hand between your thumb and your forefinger and just do a little tiny circle there to activate the energy there. Back pain, depending on what it is, lower back pain, just again, right, on either side of your spine, just doing an open circle on the right, open circle on the left. Or if I always have, because I have a rotator cuff situation, so my shoulder is always a place I like to go in and do this too. Right now I'm using the aventurine because, like I said, aventurine, this is the most versatile of the four because it's a quartz-based mineral. The others have such very specific jobs. This is your kind of wild card because it's quartz-based, so you can program it. But yeah, do it here on the neck if you've got thyroid. So many people I know have like Hashimoto's and thyroid stuff. I had Graves' disease when I was pregnant with Zoe. It was her parting gift. So shitty. Anyway, if you have thyroid stuff, that helps too.
Emily Butler says, pro tip, play and try anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't agree more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Kimberly gave us her to-do list. I love that. We of course we want your suggestions. Yeah, so just do it on your shoulder. Whichever one you have. My right shoulder is my shitty shoulder. Shitty shitterman shoulder.
Did you say shitty shittering?
Shitty shitterman. Yeah. Just around your shoulder. There's nowhere, it's not going to hurt you, right? So that's why I'm saying just play and experiment. I promise you start doing this stuff though, you're going to have people going, hey, can you go get that pointy thing and do my back again? That's what Dave will say. Can you go get that pointy thing and, do the pointy thing you do. The poker thing? Go get your poker, honey. To which I say, you go get your poker, honey. Trade you pokers. Right? Is there a spot for mouth pain? Experiment, right? If you have some like jaw pain or mouth pain, just experiment. We're learning so much about, crystals now are a big part of skincare because we've learned about gua sha. I still have to do my tutorial. I'm going to do it because I use my gua sha tools every day with serum, right, to move the skin. And so we are learning more and more about the importance of crystals in our basic practices and also how to use crystals to move energy, right? I bet you do, Happy Apple. I love it. Can a generator work? Not quite the same. I've tried. Generators have their own job to do, though, right? Generators, I call them fountains, right? A generator's job is to gather energy, direct it, and loop it back through. It literally is like a little fountain of energy. They have their own job to do, but 9 times out of 10, your generators are not carved in the right, with the point where it should be to activate the energy. Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna do skincare tutorial, and then we're gonna start doing some makeup tutorials as the rest of the makeup line comes in. So that'll be exciting too.
We're getting questions about the extractor diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, they can definitely be used the same way.
Yep.
They might be a little bit more uncomfortable for some of the mudras,
They
just
could
because
be. They're sharper, I think.
And they're bigger,
Yeah.
so you'd be stretching your hands out more. But you can still absolutely use them in the methods that Athena showed you.
Yeah, you
today.
absolutely can. Yeah, a mini Vogel would be an interesting. I would like to hear about mini Vogel. Traditionally, you're supposed to have the shape like this for this particular purpose, where you've got, like I said, the barrel and it's thicker with a quick drop to the ends. A Vogel doesn't quite have that, and a Vogel is wider on one end and more narrow on the other, so there's like a natural imbalance of the energy in a Vogel. The reason we have it that way, and I'm going to talk to you about Vogels when we talk about Mexico and energetic extraction, so if you have a Vogel, we'll be using those next month. You don't have to have one, but if you have one, I'm going to teach you how to use it, because we gather energy with the feminine, we release it with the masculine. So there's always, with each crystal, there's a purpose. They all have their jobs that they do, But having said that, I think you should always experiment, because you're going to find that certain things work for you. Like, turns out I can totally do this with a Vogel. Great. You know what I mean? I think in a perfect world, we'd be able to do everything we want to do with one tool. But I have experienced different experiences with different tools, which is why I teach the way I do. but I think you should always experiment. Try it with a Herkimer diamond. Why not? Herkimer diamonds are very powerful. The clarity of Herkimer diamonds, and to some extent I think, just the energy of the place that they come from lends a very strong vibration. I bought one for Shram as a gift when we were in Tucson because it just jumped out of the tray that it was in to go be with him. Mm-hmm. And, in a way I was like, this isn't a very impressive gift. But then I'm like, in a way, it's kind of the best gift. Because it just raises such a clear vibration, right? I love that your cat is meowing at the screen. I'm going to meow right back at you. Meow. Meow. That cat you posted on Instagram in our story, why he meow like that? I watched it 100 times. Most of the time it's me posting in the story because I like to post to our story, but Alexis once a day or so she posts, or twice a day sometimes, she posts the stuff which I haven't seen before, and I literally kept laughing and play it again, play it again, play it again. Did you see that cat in our story? It was really funny.
I feel like I make that noise a lot, meh, because the cat was just meh. It was a grumpy cat. It was so cute.
Oh yeah. So Vanya says, one more time, please. Example, if Earth is out of balance, do we activate ring finger with thumb? Is that how we bring the opposite, or Earth, which is fire? Yeah, so if you, most of the time, you're going to want to bring the opposite element to balance, right? So if Earth is out of balance, you're going to want to bring fire, right? And fire is just your thumbs. So that's when you can move that energy through. One of the things I did over these last 2 months, getting it back into shape, is, and again, I'm going to say things that might sound weird to you. Before I ate my food, I did the Earth Mudra work over my food and over myself to raise my metabolism, to increase my metabolism. Because my theory is that eating and metabolizing food is an energetic process. So it's about setting an intention that my body will burn that fuel efficiently, right? And I also found that when I did that, I was able to stop eating when I was full, even because for me the problem is I just really love food. So even when I'm full, I don't know when to stop sometimes. So yeah, just try over your food and then over your digestive system before you eat, and then be very mindful. I'm receiving this food as fuel, right? I'm setting the intention that my body will burn it efficiently, and see what happens. Again, it can't hurt, right? I mean, if we believe these things to be true, which I think most of you would probably agree that weight loss and gain is energetic. I have so many clients who come and they're like, I'm eating the same stuff I've always eaten, I'm not moving any less, and I've gained 10 pounds. How often, and during the pandemic in particular, people were just gaining weight. But what was happening is people were very, very stressed, so their cortisol levels were through the roof. Okay, so then let's start to do some cortisol work, right? Let's start to move that energy through. And so moving fire energy through the digestive system is very important. Yeah. Fire mudra. Fire, which is just the thumb over the food. Food as fuel, right? Yeah. Yeah, because stress, you can always tell when you're gaining weight from stress because it's all through the middle. It's like a tire, right? So, and that's what happened to everybody because everybody was so stressed. So if you're going to move that, you got to bring fire element energy in addition to anything else that might have been blocked, right? Yeah, so for me, metabolism is fire, right? Earth energy is oftentimes what slows the metabolism down. So then you'll want to balance that with fire, right? If fire's out of balance, do I want water or earth? It's a great question, Barbara, because it's interesting, my automatic answer to you is earth, right? Because that's what's across the wheel from fire. But then I'm leaning into your field intuitively. If you were on my table, Barbara, does anybody want an intuitive read of which element I think is out of balance for you? Would that be interesting to do for a few minutes? Only if you're interested in it, because I can provide that service to you. Barbara, I get water. intuitively, I feel like there's some sort of emotional challenge or block. So let me just go in intuitively just for a few minutes. Does that sound interesting? Is that rain?
It's raining.
I mean, it's like pouring outside.
Hillary was commenting while you were over in the body
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
In the body area. She was saying that
the body area.
it's currently hailing in Santa Monica.
We live in Los Angeles, so I don't know what's happening. Okay, so
Madison. It's also been like 80 degrees the past few days.
I know.
It's so weird. The humidity is gonna suck tomorrow.
okay, yeah, and Tracy Kennedy, you can come thumb to thumb too, and work this as a mudra, like over your food or over your digestive system. So for Clara Garza, I feel like earth. For Kathy, fire. These are where I'm feeling I think you should focus. Okay. I'm just gonna use my. Will you grab the pendulum for me? I think I left that over too. Sorry, Alexis.
No,
Actually, I can use the garnet if you want me to. But
No, let me grab it. Let me grab it.
when I channel, those of you who are in my classes know when I channel, I always use my pendulum because I just like to check it. Check myself before I wreck myself.
Chickadee, check yourself before you wreck. There's your little selenite. I think you brought
Oh
those
yeah, I
from
did
home,
bring them
so-
from home. Yeah. Okay. Vicky Payne. Air. Emily Butler. Water. Liz Grant. Air. Cindy Clark. Fire. I'm just going down the line. Carol Hudson. Fire. Crystal McKnight. Water. Christy Proper. Air. Taisha. Earth. Thank you for letting me do this, by the way. It's kind of fun. I love reading, and I don't get a chance to do it very often, so it's kind of nice. Cindy Cole Miller. Water. Jen. Fire. Janine Gibbons. Did you want me to read for you? Let me know. Appy Apple. Earth. Bonnie. Water. Angelica. Air. Glory. Water. Oh, Janine said yes. Janine. Air. For some of you, there's more than one. I'm just giving you the main one. Doesn't mean it's the only one. Liz Grant. Like I'm hearing water and fire for Liz Grant. Kim Hope. Earth. Grounding. Jelly Bean. Air. Megan. Fire. Michelle. Michelle Smith. Water. Martha Reina. Water. Let me keep going. Hold on. No, feed. Don't you do that. It jumped on me. Hold on. Do you want to read them out to me? That might be a faster way.
The
Alexis.
names? Yeah, I'm happy to.
I left off with Martha.
Are you going in order?
Yeah, I was going in order.
Oh, yeah, because this
It's
speed
kind of
is
long.
insane.
Yeah, but that'll help me focus.
Let
Let me
me
faster.
let me get closer to yours. So you were
Yeah.
over at.
I was at Martha Reina. I think was the last one I did. It's long, so let me go back up.
Yeah, just because I don't know who's after her. Unless you
Yeah.
just. Let's just do Martha and maybe just start here.
Let's see. I feel like I know. Maybe this is not helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just dive right in
Yeah.
and keep going. Okay.
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 Right.
Okay.
Martha?
Oh, did I do Martha already though?
Oh, Yvette.
Okay, Yvette. Air.
Karina George.
Karina. Water.
Misty Redford.
Earth.
Elizabeth Moore.
Fire.
Nancy Norton.
Water.
Sandra Schultz.
Earth and water.
Deborah Peterson.
Air and water.
Lindsay Seidel.
Air.
Rachel Singleton.
Fire.
Belinda Flores.
Fire.
Megan Easton.
Water.
Hillary.
Water.
Danelle Leward.
Air.
Katie L.
Air.
Christina Goltari.
Earth.
Kimberly Wilson.
Earth and water.
Trina D.
Fire.
Kelsey Willoughby.
Air.
Elizabeth Moore. Or did we do her? We just did her. Wait, did we?
I don't know.
Yeah, we did. We did. Becky Loomis.
Water.
Sandra Cruz.
Earth.
Carla Davis.
Fire and air.
Regina Zuniga.
Air.
Michelle Hilbert.
Water.
Angel Ponte.
Water.
Pamela Walsh.
Water and fire.
Megan Agregard.
Earth.
Heather Mizzosi.
Air.
Michelle Brindle.
Water.
Trista D.
Fire, fire, fire. Lots of fire.
Danuzia.
Earth.
Lynn Pellick.
Air.
Forrest Child.
Water.
Joanne Beatty.
Water.
Jessica McLean.
Earth. Earth and water.
Patrina Sicona.
Fire.
Alma Miller.
Fire and water.
Sylvie Brewster.
Earth.
Christy Harkins.
Fire.
Sherry Passaro.
Earth and fire.
Deanna Bello.
Air.
Midge Awaken.
Water.
Or Christina. Elaine.
Do you see how this pendulum is moving? Watch it. It's shaking. Do you
Oh,
see
yeah,
it?
it is. It's very shaky.
What? Okay, go ahead.
Elaine Anderson.
Air.
Paulette Corboy.
Earth.
Lynette S.
Water.
Julie Dorio.
Air.
Misty Radford.
Earth.
Joanne Stanley.
Fire.
Tracy Kennedy.
Water.
Randy Stearns.
Water.
Sandy McClure.
Air.
Deborah Lockwood.
Earth.
Michelle.
Which one?
Michelle Van Coo.
That's all I needed. Yeah. Air.
Michelle Furstein.
Mm-hmm. Water.
Shirley Ortiz.
Air.
Dora Mahaber.
Earth.
Yvette we did Yvette Price. We did this. Hold on. People.
Is this helpful?
I'm
enjoying myself.
Vanya.
Water.
Anna Maria.
Earth.
Ashley Jesus.
Earth.
Poe Allen.
Water.
Mary Wanta.
Fire.
Ava Mims.
Fire.
Julie Morris.
Earth and water.
Bonnie Lewinsky. Or sorry.
Lewinsky, yeah.
Lenuski, yes.
Water.
Stephanie Strystick.
Air.
Hazel.
Earth.
Maddie Salamone.
Water.
Shelly Santos.
Water.
Cecilia Gonzalez.
Air.
We did these ones. Let's see. Ghost Gloria.
Water.
Rinna O.
Earth.
Sherelle Wilson.
Fire.
D. Manella.
Air.
Seeing a lot of repeat comments. Tanya Thompson.
Water.
Amanda Soliotis.
Air.
Miranda Bowdoin.
This being the same spelling. Okay. Earth.
Rachel Gardner.
Water.
Jojo Shubin.
Water.
Jen Shoop.
Earth.
Melissa Glaspin.
Fire.
Tina Suarez.
Air.
Ganzito Lover.
Water.
Wendy Jacques.
Earth.
Oh, I lost it. Okay, hold on. Okay.
This pendulum is nuts.
I'm having trouble getting it to slow. Come on. It's moving so fast that it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Becky Love.
Water.
Trish Salinger.
Air.
Jackie Holla.
Air.
This is a bunch of people saying thank you. Tanya Hofe.
Fire.
Chrisanne I'm so sorry. Straffanite.
Let me see. I just have to see the name.
Right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Water.
I apologize. It's hard to read this too.
I know you all so
Yeah.
well, and I know your names. So as soon as if she's close, I know it.
Yeah, and I'm apologizing for doing terribly at reading
she's
your
fine.
name.
She's fine.
Nick Sinclair.
Water.
Shannon Vincent.
Fire.
We did that one. Mystic Owl Sunny.
Air.
Valerie.
No, air. Well, air and water.
Okay. Natividad Mendoza.
Earth.
Valerie Taylor.
Water.
That's just hard. D Yuck.
Earth.
No, slow down. Okay. We did Nick Sinclair. Kaylin Simmons.
Water.
Amber Showalter.
Air.
Leslie Furchow.
Water.
Joyce Record.
Fire.
Lena Case.
Earth.
Angela Fleury.
Air.
Karen Hallowell.
Water.
Kimberly Gutierrez.
Water.
Heather Rose.
Fire.
Shauna Kellum.
Earth and air.
Beverly Teresa Ham.
Water.
Julie Becerra.
Water and fire.
Debbie Pickens.
Air.
Mary Rose.
Earth.
Patty.
Patty what?
It just says Patty.
I'm feeling into you, Patty. We have a couple different Patties. Earth.
Jacqueline Scalamera.
Water.
Jamie Bretchen.
Air.
Marie Clarkston.
Fire.
Shanna Noel.
Earth.
Gabby Henshaw.
Earth.
Freya Blight.
Air.
Nicole B.
Fire.
Katie Lady. Actually, yeah, she didn't say please. Sorry.
Okay.
Nancy Sue Meyer.
Water and fire.
Mary N.
Earth.
Liberty Whittle.
Air.
Tabitha Talent.
Earth and air.
Darlene Jordan.
Fire.
Sharon Monaghan.
Water.
Let's do it again. Goddess and You.
Fire.
Alaskan Nomad.
Water.
Melissa Coffee Hill.
Fire.
Deidre Davis.
Air and earth.
Misha Goins.
Earth.
Why does it keep doing this? I can't see, it's going so fast. We did Jen Shoop. Tanya Stunik.
Water.
Diana Henderson.
Water and air, which is an interesting one. There's a lot going on there, but I would start with water and air.
Summer Moon.
Fire.
Glenda Vasquez.
Air.
Tanya Stunik.
Water.
Cheryl Bourdreau.
Earth.
Mary N.
Fire.
Crystal Wolf.
Fire and air.
D, yuck, we can see you, and we did you a few
Yeah, I
minutes
read you.
ago.
I can't remember what it was though. I don't hold on to it.
Luna Electra,
Fire.
Jessica Autumn,
Earth.
Karen Graham,
Earth.
Diana Henderson,
Water.
Judith Walters,
Water.
Lisa Lavelle,
Water.
Carla Diaz,
Earth.
Michelle Brucker,
Air.
Donna Cordova,
Earth.
Lola Bunny, happy 50th birthday. And she
55. This is your money year.
and she would also like a reading.
Lola, it's your money year. 55 is a year for money. Fire.
And then it's 5:58. So do you want to like wrap up or should we keep
Was
going?
this fun? I know. Yeah, so we should officially close our experience. But we could always continue that, you know.
Yeah, we can do that in the group. That would be really fun.
Why don't we, you know, I'm with you tomorrow at, we have our readings in our Facebook group tomorrow from 3 to 4 p.m. And so, you know, it's our crystal readings, but I would be more than happy to do some of these elemental readings too. So maybe we'll carve out a little space in the reading session tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yeah, like you can choose a crystal reading or an elemental reading.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, you can kind of choose. I think that would be really good. My pendulum didn't say no. It usually will tell me if I'm off. That's why I use it as a gut check. So, hey, let's do a collective reading. I like that.
Yeah, that's a fun idea.
The Renee suggested that. It was fantastic. It's between air and fire for the collective.
Makes sense.
Yeah, did you see the pendulum? It's like, yes, honey. Fucked up air and fire.
Fucked up fire.
You've never had a crystal reading before? I try to balance between people who haven't had one and people who have. So when I do crystal readings, it's always okay to say, hey, you know, I'm Alexis and I've never had a reading. You know what I mean? And that lets me know that you haven't had one before. I try to get to as many as I can. All right, so this was Crystal Masters for February. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about India and where some of the traditions that are such a central part of so many of our practices, yoga and the mudras and Ayurveda, and everything comes from these rishis, these seers who channeled, and all they did was meditate on Om, and then they received this wisdom. So I think it's really cool. So thank you for being here. As always, we really, really appreciate you. So just a few things to tell you. We do have the Mudra Balm at SageGoddess.com. We have Desert Rose Selenite at SageGoddess.com. If any of that interests you. This, like I said, is a mala gift from Shram. I'm going to go right now and post a picture of it in your Facebook group. It is pure sandalwood. Have you ever worn a sandalwood mala before? When your skin gets warm, it releases the oils. So it's this intoxicating experience. That's why Bodhi wouldn't leave it alone. He kept coming over and sniffing it and knocking it off the table because he just loved it so much. So anyway, this is just a little gift from Shram to you, and I saved it for tonight. So if you feel called to it, just go comment. I'll choose a winner. We'll choose a winner. Today's Tuesday, maybe Thursday.
Yeah, just to give people
Gives you a couple days to go over and say, yeah, I want that. It smells amazing. So yeah, and thank you for being there, Karen. It was Karen's first class moderating. So great to have you. Really, really appreciate it, especially given that I think it's like 8 o'clock in Illinois right now. So thank you for staying up late. And cheers. So I will be with you. So tomorrow, I'm just going to ask you to bear with me. Tomorrow would have been my mom's 79th birthday. As most of you know, I lost her in August, and it's going to be a tough day. It's also a full moon in Leo, because the universe just really wants to get me to feel everything tomorrow. So I will be with you live for readings and live at full moon ceremony, and I'm going to try to get all my crying out early in the day so I can hold my shit together. And then on Thursday at 3 p.m. right here, this lovely lady and I will be back with you for an exclusive Tucson live gem sale that's just for Soul Shift and Crystal Masters, which means you don't have to deal with like everybody and their mother being there. We've got some great things. One of the giveaways I packed in my suitcase and brought home. I bought this Lakshmi statue. She's brass and she has stone inlay to bring you abundance. So we have extra giveaways and extra charity items and all kinds of fun things. Since it's the community sale, I try to do special little things. So I've got extra all the things. Really cool stuff from Tucson for you. And yeah, so thank you. I really appreciate it. Send all the good vibes my way tomorrow. I will need it. And then, is it okay to lose my shit? Thank you for telling me that, by the way. I'm sure she'll be there with me tomorrow in her own way. So cheers, you guys. Anything else, Alexis, I need to mention?
I think that's everything.
That's everything, darlings. We appreciate you. We really do. Have a great rest of your evening. See you tomorrow for full moon and crystal reading.